All right, everybody, welcome to the Monday, June 12th regular City Hall meeting. Let's stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, first we have approval of additions to the agenda. First of all, we've got some additional bills. Interview list for audit and organizational assessments. Resolution supporting state funding for the National Loon Center. Shar has got something on an open meeting law. Memo dated June 12 from Chip Lowmiller declare equipment surplus. Quotes from True Green and Aver Landscape for weed control. Memo dated June 12th from Public Works Commission, recommendation R.E. Bowler property. Updates from Patrick Weiner. Need a motion to approve.
I move to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next, we have a public hearing, road right-of-way vacation request from David and Pamela Webster at 12253 Whitefish Avenue.
TJ's going to talk.
I'll just kick it off here.
Sure.
Just go over a few things. You'll be hearing from the Websters and Joe Christensen. We'll speak on behalf of them. Just to go over the overview, they're discussing two right-of-ways. Combined, they are 20 feet, Pine Landing and Pine Lane. So it is a 20-foot right-of-way that they're wanting to vacate. The recommendation from the Public Works Commission was made on April 4th. It was a 2-2 split vote to vacate. And then on April 27th at the Park Commission, it was a 4-1 vote to not vacate. So I just wanted to make sure you all know about the commission recommendations and go from there.
TJ, do you want to expound on the rationale behind your decisions?
Sure. I can't speak on behalf of the Public Works, but the Parks Commission, they thought it was a accessible right-of-way, not necessarily for access to the lake itself, but more for a viewing vista. And so that was kind of the bounds of their recommendation.
You actually went out there and looked at it?
Yep, site visits, and then we had pictures provided in the meeting. I think you have some pictures in your packet as well.
Okay, thank you.
Explain something else to me, if you would, please. It appeared on the Parks, that they were working on a 20-foot span, two different right-of-ways that they were putting in. It looked like Public Works was looking at one 10-foot right-of-way that they were looking at. Which is it?
It's one's on each on a different plat. So it's Pine Landing is 10 foot and Pine Lane is 10 foot. So combined, it's a 20-foot right-of-way. So there's two individual right-of-ways side by side, making it 20 foot.
Okay. Did you understand that? Well, you weren't there, were you, Tom? Yes. You weren't.
At that meeting.
Yeah.
I can just say, if I would have been at that meeting, it would have been a 3-2 vote to deny.
Okay. Okay. But I wonder, because one debated a 10-foot and the other one debated a 20-foot. So that's why I've got some confusion.
I was at the Public Works meeting and it was two 10-foot parcels that were side by side.
Okay, well, that's what I'm asking.
Yep, that's what it was.
Thank you.
So can I get the owners or Joe or one of you guys to come up and?
I'm Joseph Christensen, and I'm an attorney. I'm representing David and Pamela Webster, who are the property owners. I don't know if you can put it up on the screen. In the city packet, there was a topo. And I have a non-color printout of it myself. Well, but there was, Yes. Yes, that one. Thank you, Chip. So, when the Parks Commission looked at this, I wasn't at the Parks Commission meeting. The meeting minutes mentioned that some of the commission members went out and viewed it on site. And I've been out and viewed it on site a few times. And the first time I went out and viewed it on site, it was not flagged. You couldn't see the exact boundaries. And so we had the surveyors go out and put stakes in with flags so it's visible so you can see the actual easement corridor. And it was not flagged, so far as I understand, when the Park Commission members went out there. So what I want to point out is just that if you look at the topographical map here, these blue lines right here, that's the right-of-way. The Websters own the property on both sides, and they own around over here. They own multiple lots in there, and the lots are in two separate subdivisions, two separate plats, historical plats. And as was mentioned a minute ago, the plat on this side had a 10-foot right-of-way, and the plat on the other side, Myrtle Beach, I believe it's called, had a 10-foot right-of-way in there. So the two right-of-ways, the plats meet in the middle of the right-of-ways, and the total right-of-way width is 20 feet. But they're coming from two separate subdivisions. So, but what occurred to me when I went out and walked the site after it had been staked is that the topographical condition of the site, the grade and the drop-in grade is very difficult. And you can't fully appreciate it from the drawing, but the right-of-way in effect cuts diagonally across that hill. So not only does the right-of-way climb a fairly significant hill, it's climbing it at an angle. It's climbing across the face of the hill. And when you're on the site, there is a draw or a swale that goes through it, and you can see it on this drawing. The swale is right here. And when you're out on the site, so it's just on the way we're viewing it, it's just above the blue lines. When you're out on the site, that's what draws your attention, the swale. That's the natural, nicely declining grade down to the lake. That's private property. That's not the right-of-way. And when I first went out there and looked at it, I kind of thought, oh, gee, it goes down that swale. It doesn't. It goes to the side of that diagonally down a hill. And it's a very difficult walk. I'm not a spring chicken anymore, but I'm in fairly decent shape, and I could not climb in the right-of-way up the hill without using my hands. I had to kind of crab crawl for part of it to get up. So there is a fairly significant grade there. And what the Websters would like here is they would like the ability to use the site as a coherent parcel and not have the right-of-way going through it diagonally. And the way the grade is, it sort of wants to be used within that bowl that the right-of-way cuts through. So the Websters are interested in trying to work with the city to come up with a solution that works for the city and works for the Websters. So they're willing to move the right-of-way to the western side of their site. So if you see this is one of the lots that they own. That's why it's just a separate parcel there. But it's I don't know offhand what the legal description is, but it's one of the lots. They own a few of the lots in there. And as you can see, this part of the topographical map, that's like a tabletop. It's flat. It doesn't have a lot of those grade lines through it. These grade lines, those are all elevation lines. That's a steep slope. And if one walks out to this area of this site, there's a very lovely vista of Island Lake from there. And so, and another thing is that this area just beyond the blue line right there, that's, and I'm gonna blank on the name of the road that goes down onto what I'd call White Island Point, that is down here and separates Island Lake from Whitefish Lake. And that road tees off of Whitefish Avenue. There's is it Whitefish Boulevard or something? That goes, huh? Whitefish Road that goes down there. But the point is, Whitefish Road as it goes down onto the point is private. But it's not private all the way. It's public up toward the top part. And so if the Websters were to grant the city a right-of-way adjoining their western property line, it would be part of a city right-of-way that isn't in the street. There's the street that goes down has area to the east of it that adjoins the Webster property. So it would give the city a larger parcel of public property. So, and then it would allow the Websters to make a coherent use out of their property as a single parcel without this through it. So I would suggest that the benefits to the city, which is sort of the crux of this whole thing, is there a benefit to the city in doing this? And I would say that the benefit to the city in doing this is that the city would get a coherent right-of-way that's more functional than the one that is there, and it adjoins existing right-of-way that the city already has. And then it allows the property owner to have a coherent use of their property, which would result, one would think, in more value, more tax value for that parcel in the future, which has a benefit to the city as well. I'd suggest there is no benefit to the city to keeping an awkward right-of-way that's difficult to use, it's got difficult grade, and we're willing to have people come out and take a look at it, but there's no benefit to the city to having a right-of-way with a very difficult terrain and then leaving awkward parcels, private parcels on either side of it. That's not good for the property owner, but it's not good for the city either. And what the Websters are willing to do is work on a solution that will work for the city and work for them. So if the council's willing to approve this, we would agree to a condition added to the approval that the Websters grant an equal right-of-way, a 20-foot right-of-way on their western side, and go with that. So if the city isn't prepared to do that tonight, we would be willing to allow this or have the council table this and perhaps schedule an on-site that would work for the Parks Commission or anyone else, the council members, and work on a date that works for the city and have a time where people could come out and we could take a look at it and let people look at it. But I think it's the kind of thing that once you see it flagged in the field, it's more obvious than it appears on paper. So
Okay, Joe.
That's what we've got.
TJ, are you familiar with the contours and the property and whatnot? I mean, you're familiar with what he's talking about. What is that far westerly strip? Is that 100 foot or 60 feet?
That lot?
Yeah. It's got a
What is the width? We have, Kevin McCormick is here, he's the surveyor. This is David Webster, the property owner, and David would be available for any
Just let me work on
input you need from him, but it's on the survey that Chip.
So you're familiar with it, TJ?
Yeah, I've been to the
So
site.
if you look at the farther west one that goes down by the road that goes out to the island.
It's 60 feet. That,
It kind of appears that
That
the top
parcel
portion
is
of that
60 feet.
has got a nice flat,
I haven't walked
Shelf
that
on.
portion. There's another right-of-way, like he mentioned, on Whitefish Road that used to go down to the lake. It got replatted. Now we just own, I don't know how many feet of it
That's
it
this
is.
area right here.
We walked that westerly portion when we did the site visits, when we worked on the right-of-way inventory, just to take a peek at it, get all of our notes, but we didn't look at anything farther past that because this proposal was just mentioned today. So I can't really speak on behalf of what they're talking about because I haven't seen that portion. But
I just want to mention a few things that I see about this is the hill is definitely steeper on the 60-foot west, on the corner of the roads.
As it faces the lake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the flat shelf on top, to me, looks like it's a better area to use. So I guess what I'm getting at is, would it be something that the Park and Rec Commission would want to take a look at?
if the council wants to consider their additional proposal, I would suggest it goes back to the commission
Yeah.
because we were not aware of this until tonight. So if the council is wanting to move forward with looking into this proposal, I would want it to go back to Parks and Public Works probably as well.
Yeah.
I agree.
I just think that cutting it diagonally, it kind of splits the property in half, no doubt. But if it's an equal or better trade for the city, the other part I kind of get a little confused on is when we get to the contours and navigating down to the water's edge, the city has kind of taken a position you can't do that. Right?
You can use the right, you can use the right of ways. Is it?
If you get down there, there's not a dock, or you could put a bench down there on the.
Well, there's
beach, I
numerous
guess.
uses. The one most recently, Varley on Hilltop right away. People primarily use it as a viewing vista. They will go watch sunsets or go watch the fireworks. So it doesn't always necessarily need to be to get access into the lake for.
Right, but that's why I
canoeing.
look at this, and it actually is a pretty flat top, you know.
Right.
It appears to be anyway.
I'd point out that your existing right-of-way is not functionally usable as an access to the lake. This picture shows the lake as nice, pretty blue water. If you go down there, it's lily pads, and it's not a place where you'd land a boat or get in the water. The site has, it has a very steep drop, but then the drop pauses right in here. So there is sort of a little space, and then as you approach the lake, it drops almost vertically into the lake, and then it's very, you know, it's a marsh. And if you get on the west end, it's the same scenario on the beach. So I would suggest neither of these locations are locations that are going to be good accesses to the lake. And I guess I would say too that I don't know that that's an objective here anyway. There's plenty of good lake accesses in the city of Cross Lake for the whitefish chain. So, I mean, I think you're looking at something here where you're saying you've got something the public owns here. You don't want to just, you know, give it away necessarily. This looks like it has some nice vistas, viewing opportunities for the lake, but it's not easily accessed. And particularly with anybody who has any kind of you know, physical limitations, it's going to be tough. And this site is flat, it's very accessible, you can park right next to it, and there's a great vista of Island Lake from there. So neither one of them are really lake access.
So you'd be willing to, for the Park and Rec and Public Works, take a look at it? So let's just, somebody make a motion to table this, turn it back to the,
I'll move to table this until Parks and Rec can take a look at the land and
great? Second. Any other discussion on it? Who is gonna, oh, Marcia, go ahead.
I guess I would just like to know if these pictures are accurate, because I went out and looked at it, and it looks like it's a pretty easy access. I went halfway, I didn't go all the way down to the lake because of,
Unless
I didn't want
it's
to.
flagged. I think unless it's flagged, it's very difficult to know where this
well,
is.
it was flagged when I went out there.
And it was easy to get down it?
Yeah, it wasn't, I didn't think it was terrible.
Okay.
Is it these photos?
Kind of
in your-
handicapped too. Are these
have these?
accurate?
Well, I don't know if it was flagged when those photos were taken. I didn't see any flags in the photos.
See, and
I just-
I don't know anything about this other, the west part. I never looked at that because that wasn't in play.
Okay.
So if that was something that was going to be in play, it should have been in the packet, and we could have looked at that, and we could have made a decision. But throw it in there and say, oh, we'll give you this parcel, because I'm assuming that this looks, you can get down to the lake without any problem. But I don't know about the other parcel, so
Okay.
you wouldn't get an agreement from me. I would say keep this right away.
Well, and that, I guess what I'd suggest is then let's, this is a new wrinkle in it, that the west part, so then the motion is to table it, and we're okay with that. And let's have people come out and look at it. And it is flagged. And the first time I looked at it, I did not understand where the right-of-way was. And I'm an attorney, I do this kind of thing.
If it wouldn't have been flagged, I wouldn't know where it was either. Are you going to flag the other parts so that when we go
Yeah.
out there and look, that we'll know?
Yep.
Because I think when you're transferring the right-of-way to something else, you're probably not getting the same thing.
Well, we'll make sure it's all marked so it's
Okay.
visible. Yeah.
So I got another we can keep questioning, right? How much land combined are all the parcels? Is it 2¼ acres or something, everything? And I guess the point I want to make. 3.5. 3.5, yeah. So clearly there's room for 2 houses there. With a diagonal, just the way it is right now. So chances are it's going to probably get improved. If we took that out of there, we have done it before, where you got to tie the properties together and only put one house, and that's going to probably make you cringe, but I mean, that can be a condition of it.
We would
Yeah.
have to talk about it.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, if,
I don't think our concern is what house will fit on those lots. We're thinking about what the citizens of Cross Lake would be giving up. We're not concerned about the house.
yeah, but I just want to point out that there's for sure going to be 2 houses there someday, regardless if it stays just like it is.
Well, if it stays as a single ownership, maybe not,
No,
but I don't
but I mean,
know if
with the easement going through at a diagonal,
I
there
see.
still is room for 2 places. just
there
like-
may be room for more than 2. I mean, if you
Yeah, right.
press the limits of the ordinance, you may be able to get more than that.
So we got a motion and a second on the table.
Can I
Let's-
interrupt quickly?
Sure.
Before, even if you think you're going to table it, it's still a public hearing. You might have people here that came to talk about this topic.
I'll open it up.
So you should open up, in my opinion, even if you're not going to make a final action today, just in case they don't want to come back next time.
Okay, yeah.
So would we have to hold another public hearing if we move it to the other side, to the west side?
Yes.
So we'd have to have another public hearing? Okay.
But I still, I'm not sure anyone's here, but if there are,
Yeah, well,
it
let's
seems
give
to
'em a
me,
chance.
they came to, we noticed them to have a chance to talk,
Yeah.
so.
Thanks, Brad.
Great, thank you.
Is anybody out in the audience would have anything to say about this? No opinions on it? All right, we'll close the public comment then, and we'll vote on it. All in favor of tabling? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried, 5-1. Thank you. Table. Yep. Okay, next we have a public forum. Action may or may not be taken on any issues raised. If council requires more information or time for consideration, the issue will be placed on the agenda of the next regular council meeting. Speaker must state their name and address. Anybody have anything for open forum?
You're probably getting tired of me up here,
No.
but Jonathan Grothe. It's been stated that planning is the practical side of vision and direction, goals and objectives. It helps you accomplish what you want to do. The Cross Lakers have been working since 2017 with the goal of improving the city of Cross Lake, its aesthetic character, connections, and create a safe and walkable city. With the county commissioner's acceptance of the intersection and sidewalk project direction, the walkability of the city will greatly be improved by slowing vehicle traffic, separating pedestrians in those vehicles. But we also see the need to start planning for the aesthetic enhancements like trees or other landscape, hardscape, sidewalk lighting, if any, lighting fixture styles, banners, etc. for this corridor. Some enhancement ideas are a standard roundabout is basically a low mound in the center of a circle. I'm suggesting that we look at something beyond, whether that's this type of thing, something natural, what it would be, but an enhancement to that intersection. Enhancement can also, or the boulevard is also shown as just a green space, separating the pedestrians from the roadway, likely again kind of a strip of grass. But enhancement can be greater separation, something with more landscape to it, something that separates the vehicles again further from the pedestrians. And also this can help to eliminate maintenance, mowing, watering, etc. Another example would be something that's more of a dry bed with low shrubbery and ground covers and things like that. These are all just ideas that should be out there. As another example, I took a look at the area that I'll call Andy's parking lot. The current parking lot is basically a sea of asphalt that contains 57 parking stalls. With some simple changes, you can add greenery, trees, plantings, etc., to give shade and to give more of a nicer visual idea to the place. I did a couple of quick schemes on this and found that in my option A here, the areas I'm showing as green could be done as plantings. All this did is change the striping pattern in there and actually adds 4 cars to that parking lot. But in addition, it adds all of this green. Now, this doesn't change anything as far as access to this, but the county and the engineers would like to look at adjusting some of the access points to this parking area. If we did that up in this upper area here, removed one of those and adjusted one, we could actually add a total of 9 parking stalls to this, which is, 20% addition practically to what's currently there, and we're adding a lot of green area and potential landscape. Now, I only looked at the front side of these businesses. There's potential parking behind that, but I didn't want to get into that. That's another project yet. And all of this as drawn is just with the current layout of the curbing along there. The new curb edge is designed for the roadway changes in the roundabout. Don't affect any of this parking, but will actually increase the green space more than what I've shown here. I just didn't have the actuals to work from. I've heard several comments from residents about how this project is going to change the character of Cross Lake and urbanize or citify it. And I believe we can take advantage of the project to naturalize it. All of this green space can be used to just do that. The Cross Lakers Connectivity Committee will soon be starting to meet on this and further work on some enhancement ideas. The costs of these ideas or enhancements like this need to be covered locally by the city or fundraising of some kind. It will not be covered by the current city, county, and federal funding for the project. So I'm here to suggest that the city start planning and budget for at least some of these added costs to be placed within their 2024 budget and beyond financials. As Cross Lakers, we understand there's financial limitations, and we're only a volunteer group with ideas. So I hope we can work together and utilize the project as a catalyst to naturalize the city, bring back up north character. Thanks for your attention.
Thanks, Jonathan. So Phil, what does that do? How does that affect you and your planning?
We encourage John to go forward
All of this is kind of outside of
It's
their
outside of
lining.
it. It really,
Yeah.
you just gotta define your lines and see what kind of space they have
Yeah.
and see what it turns out to.
Yeah, this would just be something,
So how do you wanna move it
Yeah.
forward?
I'm just suggesting that when you start your budgeting, that we start at least doing something with budget plans, get something in there more than what we've currently got for the project, and give us somewhere we
How
can
much
take
are the
this.
Cross Lakers gonna do with it? What are you guys gonna do? Do you know? Keep coming back with thoughts, or?
It depends on what it is. You know, I can do some of this stuff, and I'm willing to do some of it, but there reaches a certain point where
So do
you
we
start
ask the
getting a
council?
landscape architect in, or, you know, other things beyond, so.
Do you wanna ask the council what kind of appetite they have to enhance it? I mean, that would probably be what do you guys think?
I'm all on board.
Yeah, I am too.
I'd like to know if the design that you put up there, is that going to work with the county's plan?
It's outside of everything the county is doing.
Yes.
I know, I realize that, but did you check with Tim or anybody to see if that design would work with the project that they're going to do?
I haven't specifically checked with anyone, but I actually had asked for the base drawings for the project. I just haven't received them because they're currently updating their drawings a little bit. As soon as I get that, I can put this into the new drawing point, and it'll all be basically where they're showing new curb, green space, and sidewalk. I would start from that sidewalk point and go in, so it wouldn't be changing anything there. The only thing that might change is if we're willing to look at some of these access drives into the parking areas. Because currently, the one that's closest to the intersection could get to be a little bit of a backup in terms of from people turning left, right, et cetera, into those places and back up traffic towards the roundabout, which is not what you want to happen. So if that moves further to the north, that opens up some of these other ideas and could add more parking and such.
So once you get the drawing, you know what design you can use in there.
Yeah, and I'm working with them on other parts of this too. I'm kind of a part of the, what do we call it?
Planning committee?
BMT meeting.
Yeah.
Tim's biggest concern is to make sure that this isn't part of his budget. That's what I
Right,
heard
yeah,
him say.
and this would not, this has to be outside of the
Yeah,
budget of that.
this is the city's deal. to
And
do
whether
that.
this is done by a completely separate construction, that's possible too.
Right.
But with what I showed for the lots, you know, like this thing, basically, if you look at this, all of these parking stalls are exactly as they are currently. All of these parking stalls are exactly as they are currently, and all of these are. I just changed how some of the access in here is, and it frees up space to green things, and we still aren't losing any parking, we're adding parking to it.
Jonathan, could you get with, could you get with Mike and find out when it would be the appropriate time? Maybe you come into the meeting and provide information for us.
Well, I'll be at all the meetings, so.
You'll be there?
So,
Okay.
yeah, so there's no
TJ has
problem in
something.
that, so.
TJ has something.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea to dress up the corridor, make it more welcoming, but I wanted to make a point that we should maybe consider minimal maintenance, something that we're not mowing weekly or pruning bushes every 2 weeks. I like the idea, but I'd like to work with Jonathan. Maybe I can work with Patrick. We can all work together on putting something in that not only looks good, but we don't have our guys out there every 2-3 weeks.
Just so it's not all concrete.
The one thing that will need to be happening with the project much more would be if anything in the center of the roundabout. And they are suggesting bringing irrigation out to that as a part of the project, so,
Irrigation and power.
yeah. So.
But it would be cheaper to have it done, everything at the same time, I have to think.
Absolutely. So Aaron, do you support him looking into that? I didn't hear anything
Yeah,
from
no,
you.
I'm fine.
Okay.
I think,
Yes.
Thank you.
keep going. Come on up. that Troy?
It's Troy. I
haven't
I
seen
see
you
we
for a
have a
while.
couple new faces. For those that don't know me, my name is Troy Bauk, and I am the business agent for the contract between the City of Cross Lake and the Public Works employees. They're represented by AFSCME Council 65. And I would like to speak to the council about agenda item E8, which is the resolution regarding the Juneteenth holiday. I'd just like to add some comments for your consideration in advance of the conversation that you're going to entertain, and that is that, as you know, the state of Minnesota adopted the Juneteenth holiday subsequently to the federal government, and whatever our position is on that holiday, is the reality is it's a state law and we have to comply with it. And AFSCME, my employer represents about 450 employers statewide across Minnesota, and so because this omnibus bill that this was contained in came so late in the legislative session, we were scrambling to address our contracts statewide. And so in advance of that, we submitted what we reference as memorandums of agreement, MOAs, to all of our employers statewide, and we asked that we obviously recognize the holiday in conjunction with our contracts. And I sent that MOA to the entire council because I just recently became aware that I don't know who the exclusive representative is for the City of Cross Lake any longer, which would be the person that I would normally contact and have this discussion with. So I submitted that to the city, and a couple days later learned that the city had drafted, or perhaps a representative of the city had drafted a resolution in how to handle the Juneteenth holiday. And that resolution essentially recognizes it as a holiday and closes the City of Cross Lake for business, but it doesn't recognize our contracts, which is where the conflict comes into play. And so the letter of agreement that I submitted to the city recognizes it and treats the employees the same as it would any other holiday, and recognizes that we're going to bargain the lasting impact of this at our next negotiations. It's a time constraint thing. So when I received notice that that the action being taken was being done by resolution, my immediate reaction is that obviously state law trumps a contract. That's a fact. The state law trumps the collective bargaining agreement between the parties, but it is also true that the contract trumps a policy or a resolution. And so why I wanted to talk to you before you took action on this tonight is in the spirit that if we don't, if the council doesn't take a different direction, and they do choose to have the employees go without pay for that day, so they recognize that the employees are going to lose 8 hours of pay or be forced to take holiday time to cover that 8 hours of lost pay, it conflicts with two portions of our contract, one of them being that the contract clearly recognizes 40 hours of work a week. And so not offering 40 hours of work a week would be a violation of the contract. And I'm here in an attempt to maybe have a conversation or to avert the subsequent grievances and the litigation. I don't think it's necessary, and I'd just like to share with you on behalf of your employees that statewide there are but less than 5 that we're aware of statewide that are taking this course of action in regards to this holiday, Cross Lake being one of them, and that the federal employees have had this holiday for years. The state has now adopted it, so the state employees have it. Crow Wing County, who I also represent, adopted it, as have all the other cities and municipalities that surround you. So I believe in consistency, fairness, equitable conduct, and I would ask for your consideration to reconsider the memorandum of agreement that I submitted to you underneath this agenda item.
Comment, Troy. Our governor did this on May 30th. Is that
31st.
true?
It's pretty accurate. I'm not sure the exact date, but in short order.
So short order is right. We hadn't had time to think about it, do we?
Yes.
So our labor attorney drew this up as a pause. Let's take a look and see what we have to do. You know, that's what it is. Because we had 2 weeks notice to it, so.
Yeah, and I understand that. The intent of why I submitted the document I did is in anticipation of tonight, wanting to get it into your board packet and on the agenda. That was I mean, trust me, statewide, every local unit of government, every board, every council is struggling with this. And again, we can only react to what we're what is set in front of us. So I just, again, in the spirit of harmony with the employees, and on behalf of the employees, I just ask you to give consideration to treating them equal to their counterparts across Minnesota.
When the governor does a change like this, do they, in the wording, do they typically say shall receive a paid holiday?
No, definitely not.
Just holiday.
Yeah, it is not.
40 hours a week picks up the rest of it.
Where the conflict comes in for the parties in our contract is that there are two provisions underneath our collective bargaining agreement that clearly delineate hours of work and the fact that employees can choose to use their paid time at their discretion versus the employer saying you must take it on Juneteenth. And so I'm trying to
Yeah,
avert that.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it.
So,
Anybody else have another question for?
I have a question regarding the essential workers, like for instance, the fire and police. So they're not getting that off. So how do you?
Compensate them.
so I'm also an ex-law enforcement officer, so I'm familiar with working holidays, and I do represent other law enforcement officers across Minnesota. And I will say that it's treated just, in their contracts, to be treated just as the 4th of July holiday. They still have to work. However, all contracts have time and a half for those folks that are required to work on a holiday, and a provision that they get an equal amount of time off later of their choosing. And I would suggest that that would be a uniform way to deal with the holiday, which is what most other employers are doing, knowing and recognizing that this is going to be a topic of discussion at the next negotiations. We're all going to have to talk about the holidays and how we're going to treat them in the future.
I mean, one concern, I mean, I don't have an issue about this particular holiday, but I mean, what's to prevent they add a new one like every year, you know, I mean, that become quite a burden on employers.
Yeah, so, you know, I live in reality too, and I pay taxes like the rest of you, and you know, I deal with mandates from government and that come without funding, and I understand that wholeheartedly. And as I say, you know, we're gonna have to look at this in the totality of the contract. So it's a provision, it's, you know, gaining another holiday is just that, it's an additional benefit that was unfunded. But we do have to comply with the law. And my memorandum that I submitted to you is just that, like, let's get through these holidays, treat the employees similarly, and then whatever we come up with, whatever the council is going to propose in the future, we're going to have to deal with.
So is there a way we could do this on a tentative basis until we have a chance to, because once you sign it, it's done forever, right? That's where my hesitation is.
The memo that I submitted only, because our contract only goes through next year, we're going to be back at this next fall. I only put the provision in it for 23 and 24, and it says that it expires with the expiration of our contract. So when we go into negotiations, we're starting from equal floor. It's going to be a topic of negotiations at that time.
But if you want to do a memorandum of understanding with the union contract, I think maybe we should table this and negotiate what's the remedy. We don't have to add an additional holiday. Do they want to give up another holiday and take this holiday? I mean, I think we need to sit down, because we've been told all the time, union contract is the union contract. So it can't go, you know, it doesn't go both ways. It only goes for the union, basically, because I think we need to table action. If we have to have a special meeting, have a special meeting. But if you have time and the union can negotiate, we can't just give another holiday. Otherwise, then what's to stop, you know, in a couple months, another memorandum of understanding for the contract. And it's two paid holidays, because you're talking about 2023 and 2024. And I think it's very poor that they didn't make it August 1st, so we would have, you know, I never worried about it because they said it was going to be August 1st effective date. And then all of a sudden, just like that, boom, it's here. That's not very fair to all the municipalities in the state of Minnesota. So I'm hoping that employees in the union will understand and be, you know, have an understanding that this is what we should be doing, is sitting down and deciding, you know, you you get this holiday because it's a state holiday. What other holiday or personal day do you want to give up or forfeit for that paid holiday under this contract? And going forward in 2025, that's a different story. You know, all's open.
But I think if it's the law, we have to comply with the law, as much as that sounds good.
I'm not
And they're
saying not, I'm not saying not comply with the law. I'm saying let's sit down and negotiate.
I mean,
what
if the
they wanna
state's
do.
saying it's a paid holiday,
They're not saying it's a paid holiday.
that's what he just said.
Holiday.
Oh, sorry.
The issue is that's just,
Yes,
that's the
right.
crux of the problem.
Okay.
And like I said, the employees' contracts are clear, and I would ask for your consideration of the MOA that I submitted as a way to resolve the issue until we can actually sit down and obviously it's going to be part of negotiations.
I think that's what we should do.
So, thank you.
Okay, thanks, Troy. Well, I think we still have to come up with an agreement, though. We can't just table it, right? That's not going to be satisfactory.
Well,
The problem is we're
Yeah, it's going to be, table it with the understanding that'll be taken care of. Or we ask Shar to go get a copy of that other resolution and just agree to it until the end of '24 when we renegotiate. Well, '24 is when.
then you're given 2 paid holidays. I'm saying we should negotiate that holiday.
I mean, in 2024?
Only,
We're a week out, though. So we can always pay it now. We can always pay it now and renegotiate later when it comes time.
you'll never get it back. Unless they're willing to switch.
the
They got to be
problem with
willing
if
to
we-
sit down at the table.
The problem with if we don't deal with it right now in a positive direction, we have 5 employees, am I correct on that, Troy? Okay. 5 employees, probably an average of about, in that union group. 6? I'm sorry, how many?
We're all here, actually.
Well, no, just, I want to know how many, 6 or 7? 6. 6 employees at $40 an hour is 240 times 8. Figure that out, Jackson.
But
Are we going to,
You can't-
are we going to?
you can't just do it for Ask Me.
Over-
You got 2 other unions.
$1,200.
Over $3,200, are we going to go into legal battle?
My intent is
Common
not to
sense.
That's
start
all
World
the-
War III
that's
here.
all
My
the
intent is
employees.
to look into it and see what we
Well,
have to
no,
do.
we're only dealing with Troy's. I realize it's going to carry over to others, but keep in mind, the other 3 unions can come back in and file the same thing, and we're going to go through that legal fight 4 times.
Right. 240 times 7 is
They're
1,600.
going to combine them on us to help us out. They're going to do it to make it most painful.
Yeah.
Just pay them and let's move forward.
So Shar, I would ask you, when that comes up, it's going to come up, could you switch our resolution that we have in here? Make copies of Troy's resolution.
For tonight?
But we should only have it for 2023 and then negotiate.
Well, we can add that.
I don't care if it's just 23, but everybody got caught short on this thanks to the governor. And I think we have to err on the side of employees.
I agree.
So could you do that, make us copies of those?
And I make that a motion for 2023, we pay them for Juneteenth.
We have E8 right now as the resolution. Okay.
E8 is ours, though. We want to replace it
Right,
with
exactly.
Troy's and just add for 23.
That was my motion.
Well, let's just wait till it comes up on the agenda, Aaron. We're going to cover that.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, that's public forum. Does anybody else have anything? Seeing nobody moving, we'll close public forum. Okay, next is the consent calendar. Has everybody had a chance to look at it?
I have.
Is there a motion?
I want to pull the expenditure report.
Which number is that, Marcia?
4.
Okay, we're going to pull number 4 out of there. Yeah. Make a motion to approve except 4.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent calendar except D4.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All in favor? And now let's address number 4 right now.
Okay, on D4, this expenditure report, I noticed that there's no, I know the cemetery's been mowed, and I know it's went under a cleanup. There are no costs associated with on the financial statement. I thought we had this pretty clear, but it's not happening, that apparently the employees are logging, but we're not carrying it forward into the financial statement. So under the cemetery, there are no wages expensed out for the cemetery. Now, we've mowed it, I don't know how many times, but, and we've done a cleanup. I'm just wondering why that's not being carried over to the financial statement. I think it needs to be carried over, and the payroll coded. If they're working in the sewer, the expense goes to sewer, and if they're working, my understanding is, Pat, that Public Works is logging, and you're doing it.
Yes, we're logging.
So there's really no reason not to get it on the financial statement. And I'd like a journal entry of all, at least the cemetery and the sewer, adjusted on the financial statement. I've been trying for a year and a half. I don't know how else to explain it, that we're keeping track of it, and it's going to go, the expenses are going to go on the financial statement. And I thought it was pretty clear. A year ago, apparently it wasn't clear, and nothing was done. And now I thought we were on track, but now it's not going to the financial statement. They're logging, but it's not going to the financial statement. I would like that done. And if I need a motion, I'll make a motion that the logging for the employees on their payroll follows through to the respective codes on the financial statement.
I've never,
Yes, it is.
What, can you repeat that motion, please?
Thank you. I didn't catch that either.
Okay.
Because, Marcia, you came in this afternoon, and we
Yes.
talked about this.
But you
And you, at the end of our conversation, you said you were going to make a motion to hold a workshop
I
to
said,
talk about this.
maybe we should have a workshop, Banyan,
Right,
you and I, and anybody else that wants to attend.
and probably the council.
So, but we really don't need Banyan really to, unless you don't know how to code it to go to these expenditures. It's no different than how you code it. How do you code it when you
We
put it in?
code it by person. We have a Tech 1 person, we have a Tech 2
I've never heard
person.
where you code it by person. I've never heard of that. But anyway, I would like it to go, forget the persons and go with the expenditures of the department. I don't need to know what each person, I want to look at the financial statement and see the costs for the cemetery, costs for the sewer, the actual wage cost.
Marcia, I'm just curious what your concern is. Can you?
Okay, now, later on in the agenda, we're going to consider weed control.
Consider what?
Weed control.
Right.
Well, that will probably take in the cemetery. We don't even know what the cost of the mowing of the cemetery is. Those things we need to know in order to make decisions. It's not a personal thing. It's just, you got to look at the financial statement in order to make those decisions. There's nothing in the cemetery now.
Marcia, are you proposing a workshop? I guess that's what I need to understand.
No, I'm not. I would like the council to be okay with me sitting down with Shar and Banyan and hammer it out how it should be. but Banyan is the software support.
If I may, part of the issue I think Marcia's struggling with is she's looking at more detail than our system is set up to provide. So back at our meeting last month, we talked about that as a council, and what was agreed was that Patrick's team and TJ's team would track that on the timesheets. The problem we've had, and we'll pick on the cemetery again, is we haven't been able to find a part-time person to do that work. So what we're doing now is we're trying to slot people in where it fits in to get it done. There's a lot of value in tracking it, like you said, so you do know your costs. But again, our system and the way we budgeted, and this is long before my time, is we budgeted employees into certain areas where they were slotted in. And so what you're really asking for is to take a look at how we track payroll instead of how we've budgeted for it and how we've traditionally done it. So what you really want to do then, we could make it a lot simpler.
I'm saying wages
Yeah, we
in
know
the
what you're
cemetery,
saying.
wages in public works. We don't need Tech 1, Tech 2, Tech 3. Just put
Well,
wages in there. And
right.
I don't understand. So if you put.
Well, I'm
you
trying to
must-
explain that to you, but you cut me off,
have
ma'am.
You have the code. You put a code in for just a certain person and not the expenditure of where they worked? And then that all goes to, I know. But
So the only
so
issue
if
you've
they-
got.
if they do something outside of public works in the cemetery or the sewer, it all goes to the public works. That's not accurate.
No, and one thing we've talked about too is I'll be addressing this during the budget, is again, we're still trying to find someone to do the mowing in the cemetery. And we did have wages in there last year. It's what your policy is, how you're allocating it, and I wouldn't recommend changing it midstream. You know, we can go back and, like Shar said, Patrick, your guys have taken account of how many hours they spend in the cemetery. We can easily do that with the journal entry if that would make you happy. But the point is, it's not really going to change anything. It still has to be mowed, and the wages are still paid. It's just different in how it's being allocated.
I would like to see it expensed out in the right departments.
I guess the only thing I want to comment to the audience here, because it's going to drive me crazy to listen to this bantering back and forth. But for example, tonight, we are looking at hiring 3 new full-time people here. And we would like to see the tracking just so we could say, maybe we should let Ambra cut the grass because we're spending too much time there and we can't do it. That's what we're trying to look at, for example.
Do you keep track of what expenses go for what house you're building? I mean, you gotta.
Absolutely. Yeah, I know. And now, especially when we got, now tonight is 3 people that we're looking at hiring tonight. So.
And how are we supposed to justify that when we had 0 in there for
Maybe, Sonia,
expenses?
maybe you should go in with Marcia and help negotiate this tracking system.
How can you budget when you don't even know what you're budgeting? You throw a number in so high that it's gonna cover. It's about what it amounts to.
All right, you gotta come up. Let's not lose control here.
Listen, I want to see it done. And if I can be of help, and Banyan will come in and sit down,
Going on for years, trying to get it, so,
well, I'm not giving up.
yeah. So with that being said, do we have a motion to approve number 4?
I think Shar's got something.
Okay.
You have an employee, and these are their job descriptions. Their job description is to mow and plow. So when we pay that person, that is what we pay them for.
No, I know, but just last year we
So
added.
your motion last month, Dave, you made the motion last month to go ahead and use a spreadsheet. That was the motion. Go ahead and do it. How does that tell me to change the entire payroll system? How does that tell me what to do?
You won't change the entire payroll system. You put a code in there.
It does, Marcia.
Well,
I
then
want
I
you to
think we.
come in and we're going to sit
Okay,
down and we're going to
I
look
will.
at Banyan
I'd be
and the
glad
payroll
to.
system.
I'd be glad to. I'd
Okay.
be glad to.
I want, for an example, a couple of years ago, we decided to plow the sidewalks in town. And so we wanted to know how long it takes to plow Anchor Point or West Shore Drive. Because we're gonna have to hire a new person just to plow the sidewalks. So we gotta track that so we know what it is. Or how much time to allocate. These are the kind of questions that I am looking for.
Did we add that in there? Did we add trails?
Yes, you divided it out, snow removal.
I probably did, and nobody's even looked at it.
I have. You put in there from snow removal on trails because we wanted to track it and see if it was worthwhile for the taxpayers.
And have we decided if it's worthwhile?
Yes, because we put it in the budget again.
Okay. And how many line items does it take to do that?
How many line items? One.
No.
One for snow removal trails and one for trails.
I want to make an appointment with you to come in.
I've done payroll. I know.
In Banyan?
No.
Okay.
I think you should get rid of payroll.
Anyway, it'd be nice to
Can
figure it out.
can I just add something? If we're talking about weed control or mowing or plowing the trails, we currently have that information. So if you tell me how much it costs to maintain those, I can provide those numbers,
Yeah.
even outside of
You
the
do a
budget.
pretty good job, and I think we asked just to mirror what you do.
Well, and
Kind of.
Patrick's starting to do
Those-
that now.
Yeah.
Those were timesheets. I thought it was going to get coded into the financial system.
But if
It's
you want to
still
know,
not.
I mean, we can provide that information with what we currently do
I just
today.
think when we're looking at new hires and expanding or where we're short, that would be a good tool to be able to use, however.
Yes, it would.
So do you have a motion?
And you have a track record, you have a
I'm going to go
history
in
of
and
it.
see her, and we're going to sit down and we're going to look at it.
Do we need a motion for that? Okay.
Okay, so we're good?
And I want to make sure that the council is all right with that. I don't want to be called out on it
I'll
next
make a
month.
motion that it's okay that Marcia has an appointment with Shar.
Yeah, I just, however, you can figure it out. I'd love it if you could figure it out.
So are you going to put number
Do I get a
4
second? Do I get a second?
back on there for approval?
That's a legitimate motion.
You got a second?
I don't think we.
I know, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Okay, moving right along, city administrator, Mr. Linus, do you have anything for us? Of course you do. What?
I
Are we
think
going
you're
to
next,
approve the
Mr. Mayor.
expenditure report? That got
Oh,
pulled?
so we need to add that, right? Okay.
I think we should have a journal entry, and then we'll move on with the,
Okay.
we have to have a journal, just bring it back.
I guess before we go any further, I think E14, D4, we need to approve D4 and get it back in and get it out of the way they can work on it when
I-
they get together.
Why would you approve it? It's not right.
Because they're not going to have the data to change it.
But they can get the data and bring it back next month.
For next month, but not for the past month. Because that's just adding,
So do we need to table the approval of D4?
just approve it and move on. There's a motion to approve it.
Motion to approve, yeah. Second?
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor?
On the condition that they meet.
Correct it?
Yep.
With the condition to correct it, I'll approve. it.
Aye.
Okay.
Yeah.
Aye.
No?
No.
I didn't hear you.
going to correct it.
Yeah.
Okay, then I'll say aye.
Motion carries, all in favor. Look at how easy that was. Okay, city administrators report.
Aren't you going to go through yours first?
Oh, God, I'm sorry, I jumped a column. Sorry about that.
I mean, I'd like it to shorten up the meeting, but
Joel Tweed and Lynn Sharonbrook, do they have a report? Yeah. Or you want to, Paul Bunyan?
His passion.
I didn't.
Oh, how nice.
On the Paul Bunyan Scenic Byway Association.
I think Joelle is going to have you spell her name right later, but we'll talk about that then. So you guys, I think, have the packets. Shar, is that right? Do they? They have them all? Okay. You can look at them as we talk, If you have a question, just interrupt me. That's just fine. There's quite a bit of information. I know, I put it in there so it opens the wrong direction, isn't it? I'm sorry. I thought about that. Just opens the wrong direction. There you go. There is a bunch of information there about National Scenic Byway designation and also information about State Scenic Byway designation. You can read it at your leisure, but I'll give you the main points about that. So in our United States, we have actually 3 levels of scenic byways: state, national, and all-American roads. All-American roads are considered a national designation too, but they're kind of the A+ kids in the class. That'd be like Great River Road, something that's crossing state lines and people from other countries know about it. We are a nationally designated byway. That's the road that goes right through your town, County Road 66. It's been a designated scenic byway for 25 years. So if you need to have people sitting in on some of those other groups' meetings about what to do along that road, you might think about calling us. We have access to a lot of different money pots.
Do you have any sidewalk funding or anything? You can
I don't
help us
know.
out
We
with?
can check on it. We can, because we're nationally designated, we can put our fingers in lots of pots. So we'll see what we can do. It changes all the time. There is quite a lot of money coming from federal highway now. Lots, actually. There used to be quite a bit, and then when Oberstar passed away, some of it went away because he wasn't there to champion that for a while, and now there's another fellow who is doing it, not a legislator, but another person who started a foundation. So he's doing a good job in getting that money available for us again. I think this coming 2 years, there'll be close to 20 million. So it's a good number. So that's interesting to know about. You can read some more about that, and there are some links in that information for you to find out even more if you'd like. So that's the national and state level designation information. I'm telling you this kind of twice because in the back of your packet, you have a bragging rights quiz. And if you answer it all right and send it to me or give it to me tonight, you'll win a great prize. So please listen. So there are 184 nationally designated byways, and somebody's taking notes. Good. I love that as a former teacher. I love that. There are 184 in our nation that are designated as national scenic byways. 8 in Minnesota, we're one of them. So when you think about how big our country is, that's really quite a perk that we have one of those. So you can see on your informational visit slip, that kind of outlines what we're going to talk about, that the byway, this byway, the Paul Bunyan Scenic Byway, was designated in 1998. That's why we're celebrating our 25th anniversary right now. We're going to be doing some things over the summer, and you can watch for articles in the paper. Nancy's on your screen, and I send her an article every month. She gives us space in the Echo to put something in about what we're doing. It's all fun. It's never crabby, just good. Yep. We are covering 54 miles, all on county roads, one of the rare byways that goes just on county roads. So that makes the county happy because they have a special spot in all of our hearts, because it's all county roads. We have to only deal with a county about what we do. It's not like some state highways or some federal highways are included. It makes it a little easier for all of us. And the route itself is managed by the Paul Bunyan Scenic Byway group. That's what we're here for. We are the association that manages that route. So if you have anything you want to say about that, something you'd like us to look into, do partner with you on, anything you're thinking about, if it's not a crabby thing, we'd love to hear about it. We pass through 6 cities, 8 townships, and 2 counties. If you've driven it, you've probably seen that the signs are along the way so you know where you are for wayfinding. And then there are 14 informational kiosks along that route. So if you feel like you want to stop, read a little bit more, lots of opportunities to do that as well. You can see how we're supported. Often people ask us about that. That's the information on number 2. And below that is just a rehashing of what our vision and our mission and our goals are for the association. Every 501c3 has to do that. It's always good for everyone to actually do that, even at your house with your own family. So we have many things that we are about. Always there's something that fits. As a former teacher, as I said, I remember the gifted opportunities room at school, and once you walked through that door, everything fit. No matter what you were interested in, if you were there, you could do it. I feel that way about Scenic Byways. The program is vast. No matter what you're interested in your city, we can probably help you do it. Whatever it is that you're hoping for, you come and tell us. We can probably help you do it. Maybe not tomorrow, but we can probably help you do it. At the same time, we want to tell you that we would like you to help us too, because we don't want to just have work done for you, nothing coming back to us. So please consider the byway when you are doing your budgeting, if you have anything left in there. That would be great. We get good support from several of the cities and townships on our route now, and we would like to have 100% if we could. So I'm going to let Joelle talk to you a little bit, besides spelling her name right for you, because there is an exciting, I guess I would say, potential event that we would like to start in 2024. So this is Joelle.
Hi, if you want to spell my name right, it's, I think, is it just my last name that's spelled wrong? Okay, so Joelle is Joell, no E on the end, and then Tweet, TVEDT, in case you need to have it right.
We should have it.
I've been called lots of things, so I'm really okay with whatever, but anyways. So I'm relatively new to this area, and even new, about 2 years, right? And even newer to the Paul Bunyan Scenic Byway. Lynn approached me about being a part of the board, and I accepted because I think it's a really great fit for community education. So I'm the community ed director for the Pequot Lake School District. And so that's where this really cool kind of mix and partnership comes in. And on my way over tonight, I'm lucky enough to live off of 15, which is part of the Paul Bunyan Scenic Byway. And I drove the Paul Bunyan Scenic Byway the whole way over here to Cross Lake. And as I was driving, I was noticing all the kiosks, and I was noticing different landmarks and things like that, and wondering what the story was behind those things. And that's what we would like to partner with you guys on. There are things in Cross Lake that have stories, and we want people to know them. We want people to come to Cross Lake and hear, they heard a story and they want to come and experience it firsthand. So one of the things that we have going is that we would like to take someone from the different hotspots, entities around the whole Paul Bunyan Scenic Byway and offer a community ed class that talks about what are the highlights of Cross Lake and why should I drive that and what can I learn. And we want somebody, maybe one of you, to tell those stories of Cross Lake. So, Dave, is that you? No. So anyways, so just planting a bug that this would be something really cool for us to help promote Cross Lake and other areas around the Scenic Byway.
Do you have a suggested, list of some of those stories, or that would be helpful, I think? Sure.
So only the ones that we have thought of. In your packet is a page that says those 4 that we have. Okay. It says like highlights of your area. We would like to have you guys chime in now, later, anytime, email us about what you think ought to be included in there as well, or instead of, or more. Anything that you think would be perfect, we would love to include those. Those go on our website so that anybody that is interested can take a look. There's a page on the very back that gives you information on how to get in touch with us. But we have those there. So we have used those in lots of other things over the years, and many times things change and new things come up. The fellow that was talking about redoing the road, if that gets done, we'll just grab onto that and celebrate that. We are a celebrating group. Whatever there is to celebrate, we'll celebrate. So going back to what Joelle was talking about, we've been in contact with the University of Minnesota Extension. We would like to have them provide the videotaping part of that project. So if we get it off the ground, we'll have, let's say we had 5 jurisdictions that decided to do it. Dave is going to come and tell us all about the history of Cross Lake, and he'll be the featured speaker for Cross Lake, and it'll be a certain date. It'll go in Joelle's booklet. Everybody will know about it, and they'll be so excited they'll come that night and fill the room. They'll have University of Minnesota Extension there. They'll film it. It'll be part of the whole project in the end. Then maybe the next class will be, that was at Charlie from Jenkins, who just about jumped out of his chair and then all of a sudden decided maybe he should get approved first. And then he would speak about what's important about Jenkins and that
Who are
history.
you speaking to?
All the jurisdictions, cities and townships, all 14 of them. So hopefully we get at least 5. In the end, we'll have a compilation of the stories. That's exactly what she's talking about. They really draw people in. So it'll be available through the university. It'll be available for us on our website and for all of you in your own. It's going to be a lot of fun, Dave. You would have a good time.
From the university?
Pardon me?
You get any funding from the university?
Extension.
Okay.
Extension. Yep. So that's the big project ahead, and we're hoping to get that done in '24. So I hope somebody can come. There are loads of stories in Cross Lake. You've got all that. Well, you've got that history stuff going on with that. I just wish Fred Gridley was still here, but you've got that history going on with all the logs coming down here and being sent out from here. You've just got so much to say.
Talk to Dodo.
Have you contacted?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Have you
You could-
contacted the Historical Society?
Oh, gosh, yeah, we were partners with them.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So we have all, but we need to have somebody who's going to talk about it in a compelling way. So that would be one of you. So you can get in touch with us about that. So that's one of the things looking ahead. Then on a more serious note, I want to talk about corridor management planning. We are working right now with the county, Tim Bray and one of his other workers, to finish updating our corridor management plan. Why is that important? The dollars that I mentioned earlier through Federal Highway Department are available for those who have updated corridor management plans. If you don't have it, you're not even considered. So we need to have that done, and we're very grateful that we have that partnership with the county to get that done. That allows us to be their partner in doing things along the county roads that we're on. Any projects that we have then the opportunity to partner with them because we have it updated. We should have that done hopefully by the end of this year, maybe sooner. We'll see how that goes, but that's our plan. And then that will open the door to even more available funding. So all of those are exciting things to look forward to. I would like to tell you that we are looking for your best highlights every day. So don't be shy to get in touch with us over and over. Don't think, oh, I emailed them once, that's enough. No, just send us stuff all the time. We want all that, and we'll do good stuff with it. Yep, we'll do good stuff with it. You'll be happy you did it. It'll turn into something wonderful. You'll be glad it's out there for the public, for yourself. It's just going to be good. But we can't do it all by ourselves. We can't read your mind. You got to send it to us. There's wonderful stuff every day. So just look around, just like Joelle said to when she was coming here, just looking around, coming, wondering, well, what is the story behind that? That's what we want to know. So send me your bragging rights sheet. See if you win a great prize. I'll send it to your house. Give me your address. It'll be all fun. It's always fun.
Got it done, Jackson?
Can you answer 2 questions for me? Maybe
Not on the bragging rights sheet. You have to
Maybe
answer
I
those
wasn't
yourself.
listening.
You have to find it yourself. It's all in the packet.
All right. We'll make it.
Any questions?
Thank you, ladies.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Questions left.
Okay, Sonia, are you going to come up?
I can read it.
How about the Powell Foundation, the update?
I can read it.
Isn't she up yet?
No.
Sorry. You want me to read it?
Yeah, Pell Foundation. Do it.
All right.
I'm getting lost here.
I thought we were reading this.
No, Pell Foundation
Powell
update is
Foundation is
next.
next.
Who's doing that?
Said she hasn't seen it.
He's guiding the herd.
This is getting out of control again. Okay, Sonia's next.
Well, Alden is out of town, so you're stuck with me.
All right.
And this is a little different for me because I'm not up here complaining about something.
Really?
I've got lots of positive
See
news
a whole
for
new
you.
side of you, Tom. Let's
Yeah.
see it.
For the PAL Foundation, the fundraising is going well through the end of the end of May. We've received $20,500. This last week, we also went down and looked at that garage building, and two construction people were with us, and Joel Knippel reported at the PAL meeting this morning that it's too good a building. It's structurally sound. It's too good a building to get rid of. What the plan would be, there's two garage doors in front, run a wall down the center of the building and re-side the west side with lapboard and clean that up, and remove the walls on the east side and part of the north and south side to open it up as a pavilion or a covered area where we could put some picnic tables. So, the budget is growing a little bit. I've also received good news, two grants we wrote. One to the Initiative Foundation, we received $4,000, and I received the notice and I sent in the following paperwork to the Essentia St. Joseph's Foundation, and we're getting $2,500 from them. And the Greater Cross Lake Area Foundation has contributed $500. So, we're getting money from businesses, individuals.
All dedicated to the park specifically?
Yep, it's all dedicated to be used at the new park. The kayak dock has been delivered, and this morning at the meeting, the foundation board approved a motion to pay the invoice on the dock. And then, what else? They gave TJ the authorization to move forward, and the funding is there for the amenities such as the picnic tables and completing some of the concrete slabs for the picnic tables, and the porta potty, what we're gonna do there, and I think it showed on some of TJ's earlier drawings. It's an enclosure that'll hold the porta potty. So, we'll be moving forward with that. And one thing, when I was talking to the St. Joseph's Foundation, they're very into accessibility. So, we talked about the porta potty, and they said, is that going to be accessible? Well, I talked to TJ, and you can get porta potties that are accessible. So the structure going around that is going to have to be enlarged, but we're on the way to doing that. And then there's probably going to be some paving needed to have a path going from the blacktop, the existing blacktop, to the
I thought we were going to stage this project.
Not with PAL. It's kind of like the playground. That was supposed to be a 3-year project, and we did it in 3 months. So I don't know, the support from the community is there, and hopefully the money keeps coming in to keep funding it. No.
Is that money from the Initiative Foundation in St. Joseph's, is that on top of the $20,500 that you have raised so far from?
Yeah, because I haven't received that yet. I sent in the paperwork. We should be getting that in the next week or so.
Great.
So Tom kind of touched on the building, the remodel, and I talked to some of my commission members, and I talked to PAL, and to keep things moving, our thought is to use some park dedication funding to put into that remodel of the pavilion. That's a good use of park dedication funding. We can put Cross Lake Park dedication on the plaque, because it's going to be most likely $500 or more, so we can put that on there to show the ones that are paying park dedication where their funds are going directly back into improving a park system. So I would like possibly a motion or a consensus to go get a quote, a firm quote. We kind of have some rough numbers right now to do what Tom just described with that pavilion, and then potentially use the park dedication money for that project.
I'll make a motion to go get a quote and then use the park, some of the park dedication fees for the project.
I'll second that motion.
Yeah. It would be most likely 12 to 15,000 or below. We don't know. It's just rough numbers right now, and that would be including some of the pathways and some of the other things that we'd have to do to get the accessibility portion.
Dedication.
Yeah, and then if we could, I don't know if we haven't really set anything up for a special meeting, but if we could get included on that special meeting, I'm gonna try to do my homework and get that quote as soon as possible, just so we can expedite the process.
What special meeting, I guess?
There's one.
Next on your agenda, or a couple ones down, it says
Schedule.
special meeting.
I think that's just solely for that
Okay.
topic, correct, Aaron?
We're just trying to get through the fire chief, and
That's
you have to
solely
sit
for
down
that.
and just focus everybody.
That also might not be until like the day of the next regular council meeting.
We're just
Everyone's
trying
out
to,
of town.
you know, looking at if you have a special meeting, if he has the quotes, we just want to keep this moving.
Yep. Understand.
Okay,
But
so
we
we've got a
don't have a
motion
date set
sitting
for
here
that.
with a first and a second on it to approve the 12,000 or the go ahead with the pavilion.
To
Okay.
get the quotes and then just to know that park dedication
Use
funding will
park
be used.
dedication. So let's vote on that. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Great.
Is that all you needed? Yep. That's it. Thanks, you guys. Okay, Sonia, are you gonna read this or say it? Okay, you read it.
It's a copy of what was in the paper. The thank you.
Yeah.
You had to write this joke then.
Do you want to read it?
Yeah.
I can read it? Okay. So this is from Joe Slack. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I had my first experience with Cross Lake First Responders, North Ambulance, and the Cuyuna Regional Medical Center staff on Friday, May 19th. After having surgery, I had a setback that required professionals. I've always felt that I would not be the one to call 911 and would find a way to get myself to the hospital, but this was beyond that. We just want to express our gratitude for the quick response and the comfort given by the crew. My wife and I could not believe how quick we had a team at our house getting me put together and shipped over to the hospital. I've heard said that the things you give up not living in the big city are the lack of services you receive in a small community. I believe it would be the opposite. You cannot match the service provided in our town on the day that I needed them. I went from feeling embarrassed and in pain to comforted and knowing my situation would be better. Thank you from Joel and Sonia Slack.
All right, thank you for that acknowledgement.
Yes.
Thanks to the first.
Thank you for
responder.
letting us know. We always hear the bad side, but it's really, really nice to hear the good sides on you. Thank you.
Joe does not write letters, but he writes that.
That was very well done.
Well, thank you.
Okay, next we have a signed consulting agreement with the Madden, Gallanter, Hanson Law Firm. What are we supposed to do with this? Just
I put that in.
I've got a question.
I've got a
I put that
question
in
as
there
well.
for information because when I listened to the workshop meeting, you all seemed to think that you told Brad to put a contract together, which you did not.
So this is a
So
consulting
this is the
agreement.
contract that you printed and signed and sent back to Susan.
Right.
I wanted you to know that Brad was not instructed to put a contract together. So there it
Are you
is.
gonna?
Question.
I have one as well.
My first question is, Susan and I had about a 30-minute conversation on the 13th of May. She told me that the proposal she sent in for the, when we interviewed her, was the contract. She signed it on the 10th, you signed it on the 11th. Why didn't she tell me that there was a contract here? And why didn't you send this contract out to all of the council when you signed it?
I don't know. Find it in my packet, right? I mean, just in one of the. I don't know, Aaron.
Well, in the future, you need to start sending this stuff out, and I'm concerned about why she didn't think enough to tell me about it 3 days after she signed it.
I don't know which conversation you had. I don't know.
Well, we had a lengthy conversation, she called me. It was about June 8th to start with.
And then I just have a question, because it says the duration, it says the terms of this agreement shall be applicable for a period commencing February 24th of 2023. Why is it backdating all the way to February when we didn't start using her till last month?
We didn't even interview her.
We didn't even interview her in February.
That's a good question to ask.
Right here.
I don't know.
This is what I'm talking about, Dave. You've got to read this stuff, and you got to let it come through the council before you do this stuff, so if any of us have questions, we can ask them and we can get it straightened out.
Okay, I'll just let it lie there. When I come in here to sign checks and sign documents, I got a pile about 500 tall.
I understand,
So
but
I would kind of rely on staff to separate that stuff and do that delegating if it's that necessary.
Well,
Because
when
when I'm
you
going through
got
a
a
pile of
contract like
500
this,
things,
when you got a contract like this, it's going to cost us lots and lots of money.
remember that next time. All right, we got through that. Resolution accepting donations.
Yeah,
I didn't see any.
right here.
Okay, we've got 3 donations, one from Mike and Kelly Haglund for $5,000 for the police department. Janet Moline for $200 for the police department. And Pell Foundation of $61.98 for the community garden. We need a motion to accept those.
Oh, these are the, I'll make a motion that we accept the donations.
I'll second that.
Pass.
Okay, we got a motion and a second.
23.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries, and thank you much for your donation. Schedule, okay, Aaron, why don't you take number E6?
E6. Okay.
Scheduling special meeting.
Well, a special meeting, however you want to title it. But we need to meet, and I'd like it to be a one agenda, nobody add anything else to it. And however it works out, whatever we do, we sit down with Chip and we sit down with Mike and we iron our way through this mess. We can't keep playing games with it and going in circles with it. All I want to do, and I gave you a list of the items to look at and consider that we can talk about, and I want to do it in a professional manner.
No one does.
Okay, does it have to be an open meeting, or can it
Yes.
be
Yes, it has to be an open meeting.
It's got to be an open meeting, all right.
Well, I think we should commit to that we won't leave that meeting until everything is ironed out and we've come to a decision, because it's just,
I agree.
I'll second that, I agree.
Was that a motion?
Well, let's
it's-
start shooting out
I think we need a
dates.
date before we go to
Yeah,
a
let's start
motion.
shooting.
Just so,
Any paperwork together for it, Chip? Any kind of,
Whatever you request, just shoot me an email, I'll get you whatever you need.
okay.
Well,
On
that's
my
one of the reasons
calendar-
I put that list together.
yeah, sure.
I have Dave out, then Jackson out, then Sandy out until July 6th is the first date I show an opening.
Let's shoot after that.
Thursday, July 6th. And our next council meeting is Monday, July 10th. So I don't know if you want to have it before the regular meeting on July 10th. I don't know.
I would just assume that.
Okay.
And as we get,
4th of July celebrated is the 2nd, correct, or the 1st?
Correct, second.
1st is when the fireworks go off Saturday.
Or, yeah. I see what you're saying, yes.
So I would go along with the 6th. I mean,
You are back that day, Sandy?
That puts her,
6th or the 7th is Friday.
I would prefer to do it on Friday just because we will have just gotten home the 5th at night from Europe, and I'm going to be pretty jet lagged. So I would rather do it on Friday if that is all right with everybody else.
Fine.
Good with you, Aaron?
Yeah, good for me.
After
Friday-
5?
Friday morning? Can we do it in the morning? Can we do it in the morning? Yeah, can we do it in the morning?
It
Yeah.
can be the four of you. We're down a person at work, so I can't escape. I was lucky enough to get a week off to go to DC. So that, it can be the four of you, but I cannot pull any more days off.
Thursday evening, that'll give me if that would work for you.
That'll work for me, but I don't want to push you.
No, I mean, no, that would be fine. I just didn't want to do it Thursday morning because,
I can do it Thursday evening, that's fine.
okay.
Aaron, Marcia?
Yep.
All right.
What time?
Can we do it earlier, like 5:30 maybe? Can you-
5:30 is fine.
Okay.
5:30.
Yes, July 6th.
Then I'll make a motion to set a special meeting, one
5:30.
agenda item, to work out the fire chief issues. And I'm just going to put it as issues that predominantly pay.
Okay.
Okay?
Any data you would like, please
Yeah.
email me, because I'm not gonna make up stuff.
Oh, come on.
No, you need it to be detailed, like,
Yep.
call, I mean, you have all the data.
So that's Thursday, July 6th at 5:30, correct?
Yep.
Okay,
Is that a motion or just a consensus?
just consensus is good, the newspapers are
Aaron made a
online.
motion, I'll second that.
All in
Okay.
favor?
Aye,
Ah.
Aye. Opposed, motion carries.
All right.
5:30, right?
5:30, correct.
So just before we leave that, Chip, so short-term rentals, do we have to be specific what your duties are, or is it all of them? Or that'll be a discussion point, okay. Okay, next. Chief Lee, approval to advertise for police officer. I don't have any paperwork.
I'll make a motion.
I don't have anything on this, I mean,
So we're just looking for one.
as far as I know, the council brought that to Shar, so, we are looking right now. One of the things, and I was kind of hoping Sergeant Meyer would be here to take this, being that he's gonna be the ultimate one who hires. But, we're at a real shortage right now for officers, or officer candidates. I mean, a real shortage. I'm trying to figure out and help Jake figure out how we can advertise to bring someone here. We are, in Crow Wing County, we're the third lowest paid, or the third from the bottom paid. We have Pequot, Breezy, I believe Brainerd, Crow Wing County, are all looking for officers right now. Pequot's trying to fill 3 positions. Breezy has 1 opening. I believe Brainerd might have 1 or 2, I'm not sure. And County is gonna be having a couple. So somehow, some way, we gotta figure out how to entice people to come here and why they should come to Cross Lake. That's gonna be our biggest hurdle that we have.
Because it's beautiful?
That just doesn't fly, no. And we got great equipment, so I mean, that's an awesome thing. We got a beautiful town. Yes, we got great people. But you also have one of the highest housing markets in the area. And like I said, an officer here makes $70,000 after they've been here 10 years. How do you get them to afford a house? So that, we are still trying. We have a couple candidates that we're looking at right now. I don't know how well they'll work out. I don't know if they have job offers elsewhere, but we're in the process of doing that and trying to get a couple part-timers potentially on. But we don't want to become a training ground like we did a year and a half ago and spend $100,000 in a year time and lose them for $10,000, to go to another agency. So it's just not a good investment of our money. If you want us to put together an opening for a police officer here, we absolutely will do that. I would say, excuse me, I would say that we have it open until probably the end of July and go through and see what kind of candidates we pick out.
How about your part-timers? Are you okay with them this summer?
No, part-time. If you look at our budget, our expenditures for the year, we have used zero monies for
Part-time. You
part-time
don't
this
have
year. I
any.
have not been able to get anyone to work.
And obviously, you're going to the VOTEX or the schools.
Yep, we're looking, I mean, well, Hibbing Community College, normally their law enforcement program is 30 to 40 candidates that they graduate annually. It was 4 this year.
Just because nobody applies. Nobody's gonna-
So
Nobody
there's,
wants
I
to
mean,
do it
we're
because what
just,
the government's done.
when the metro, you know, and I, you know, if you want to be a police officer and you want to, you know, police hard, you go down there and you start over $100,000 a year. Here you start at 56. So.
Troy, are you looking for other work?
I've been asked that a lot lately, and so far I'm not. What's changed a lot?
Keep it in mind.
I'll make a motion to approve to advertise for a police officer.
Sure. I'll second that motion, Marcia.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries, all in favor.
Okay, we'll get it in the papers, we'll get it on the state opportunity
Get
line.
creative.
And we'll put really pretty
Tell them what the
things in
ice
it.
fishing is and, you know.
All right.
Mention the byway.
Okay, resolution regarding Juneteenth. Who wants to take this one? I'm looking for a volunteer.
You want me to start it out?
Yeah, you go ahead, Jared.
I'll be happy to. I think the resolution needs to be thrown away, and then we need
Oh,
to
we got
start
a
over.
new one, Aaron.
Oh, we got a new one.
Didn't you have it?
But I have a problem with the new one.
I wasn't looking at, it. okay.
Union rep has his hand up.
I just wanted to know, I just drafted a resolution covering the city. You guys can doctor or amend it just for ease. Have something you guys can look at and pass. I sent it to the chief and to Shar and to Dave.
You mean aside from this one?
Yeah, I sent one, this would cover the city across the lake for you guys if you want to just take one swipe at it.
So this right,
He's gonna print a new one. Wow, that's.
oh,
But
then what do
I
we do?
think we should only do it for 2023. And then we need to negotiate with unions.
Write that in.
I mean,
That's what this says.
I only recognize it for 2023.
Yeah, we're recording this, so.
this is in effect from January.
so
Oh,
this is
the
the good one.
agreement that's in effect.
Yeah, that,
Okay,
the
I'm
only
sorry.
issue is that would only cover the bargaining unit that I represent, so knowing that Monday's impeding quickly upon us, I thought I should draft one that would cover all of your employees just to help. So
How
I
come
sent
they
it.
haven't come with one, the other unions?
Don't know. I'm surprised by that, but I just think if I were in your shoes, I would want to look at it more globally as in the city employees versus just some city employees. So I don't know if you want to act on it, but I did send it, so.
Okay, well, you got it to the 23rd. We'll, tentative, yeah. So, Aaron, you got this new one. Do you want to read it?
Yeah.
Do you want to do this? And it's got 23 on there.
Okay. Memorandum of agreement is entered into between the city of Cross Lake, here and after the city, NASB Council 65, Local 689-5, hereafter the union. Whereas the city and the union are parties to a collective bargaining agreement, hereafter agreement, in effect from January 1st, 2022 to December 31st, 2024, providing for the terms and conditions of employment for those employees covered by the agreement, and whereas the city has approved adding Juneteenth as a paid recognized holiday to be effective for the 2023 Juneteenth holiday. And whereas the city has offered and the union has agreed to add Juneteenth paid holiday to the members of its bargaining unit as noted below. Now therefore, the parties have agreed to amend Article 8, Holiday Provisions, Section 1, to recognize Juneteenth as a holiday for 2023 in compliance with Minnesota state statute. The parties agree that this memorandum of agreement will become effective June 19th, 2023, and will continue until December 31st, 2023, at which time it will be of no further force or effect. The parties recognize that the Juneteenth revision is the result of factually unique circumstances and shall not operate as a waiver of management or union rights or establish any precedent or past practice. It is the parties' intent that Article 8 holiday provision benefit be a proper subject for negotiations beginning for 2024 and thereafter. Memorandum of agreement represents the full and complete agreement between the parties regarding this matter, and then it's got signature lines on it.
So Troy, that is not the current one that you sent us. Should I read the last paragraph? Is there any?
Yes, the one I just sent, it was also took everything out of it, just called it a resolution and, but you.
Okay, go ahead. So we're just going to read the last paragraph of it if it's a little different than.
We just got it. This resolution will become effective June 19th, 2023, and will continue until December 31st of 2023, at which time it will be no further force or effect. The city recognizes that Juneteenth resolution is the result of factually unique circumstances and shall not operate as a waiver of management or union rights or establish any precedent or past practice. It is the city's intent that the paid holiday will be a proper subject for consideration in negotiations by the council beginning for 2024 and thereafter.
Okay, anybody have any comments?
No.
Do I have a motion?
I move that we adopt this resolution.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries, all in favor. Sorry about the confusion.
And that covers all employees, so that takes care of it.
New resolution does.
Okay,
So we can't negotiate 2023.
not 23, 24 we can.
Well, I want to hear from the union guy.
Oh,
It's not that we couldn't, it's just a
Okay.
time restraint thing. It's just, we're kind of here by necessity, I would call it.
But, yeah, but not after the fact. We can't include that.
Yeah, well, it'd be tough. I mean, could you? I mean, certainly, it's a possibility.
It's Monday.
That would be reasonable. Okay, thank you.
thanks, Troy.
You want me to read the next one?
This one.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay. It's a resolution regarding workplace audit and organizational structure assessment. Whereas the City Council supports the goal of a city workplace and organizational structure that efficiently and effectively serves the needs of the City of Cross Lake and its residents. Whereas the City Council supports the goal of improved communication and unification between the City Council and the staff. Whereas consultant Michelle Soldo of Soldo Consulting, PC, acts as an outside independent consultant to perform workplace audits and organizational structure assessments for cities and counties in Minnesota. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of Cross Lake, Minnesota, that one, consultant Michelle Soldo of Soldo Consulting, PC, shall be retained to conduct a workplace audit and organizational structure assessment for the City of Cross Lake at the rate of $155 per hour. Number two, City Council Member Jackson Purfirst shall be designated by the council to contact Attorney Michelle Soldo for purposes of commencing this process. Adopted this 12th day of June, 2023.
Do you want me to read the list of names that were added?
That you're adding?
That I added.
It's all the supervisor and manager.
Yeah, okay.
Plus council.
So somebody make a motion?
I make a motion that we approve this resolution of a workplace audit.
Second.
Yeah, okay.
How many hours? Billable hours? Whatever.
I've got a couple
That's
questions.
yet to be determined.
11 people, so
I'm sorry, I didn't.
money's on you.
I do have a couple questions if the council will entertain them.
Sure.
Okay.
So when I looked at this, I used to do this kind of work earlier in my career. And I did it for a lot of cities, counties, school districts, private and public entities, significantly larger than we could ever be. And usually when I did them, my clients would come to me and said, I've got this business issue or this whatever I'm trying to resolve, and we'd identify it. Then we'd put a box around it, and we'd say, okay, here's the issue we're trying to solve. And then we'd try to figure out what type of consultant or list of consultants would provide that service for us for what we were trying to solve. But and then we put a budget together and say, here's what we're going to spend. I mean, I'm all for doing something like this to say, okay, we've got a lot of things we need to talk about, and we can always get better at what we do. The concern I have is we've just said, well, we're going to do something that we haven't identified what we're trying to solve, and we're not sure how much it's going to cost. And I think we need to do that, put some, because just the simple math on it, if you've got 15 people you're going to interview, that's about an hour a person, that's 2 days, that's 4 to 6 hours of travel, that's another day of.
It's all Zoom meetings.
Right up.
It's all Zoom meetings.
Well, that doesn't say this here, but it doesn't say what we're actually going to do and what we're trying to solve, is my question.
Well, I think the goal is to improve communication. And
Okay.
so, I mean, that's the bottom line.
Right.
Dysfunction.
Let's,
So I think you should say that you're going to do it through Zoom, because at some point, you're going to have a face-to-face with this, with whatever you're doing, to either review results or say, what are the next steps? But I'm not comfortable, or I wouldn't be comfortable saying, here's an open checkbook, just do what you want and let us know if you're going to say, hey, I want to have an issue to improve communications, then we should say that's what we're trying to accomplish.
well, that's what it said here.
Yeah.
No?
Well, I think our first meeting,
What do you
we'll
say,
get those
Mr.
parameters set, exactly what we're looking for,
Well, we could
and
put
how
right
many
on here a
hours.
maximum of 10 or 15 hours if we wanted to.
I mean, we're the ones that are going to approve the payment, so if we sit down with her at the beginning and say, we don't want it to exceed this, can you do that? And if she can't, then she's not hired, or we're done.
Jackson?
Well, I think the city, I think the city council should maybe decide what we're, so that we can identify what we're looking for, why we're doing this, and then identify how many dollars we're willing to spend on this. We do need to look at the structure.
Well, for example, we never did that with any of the union negotiations or anything we've done.
What?
Set up a budget or.
No, but we should have some kind of idea of what to expect. I mean, how long does she interview one person?
So what do you want to do? You want Jackson to go back and question her on that, and then she'll come back to the next meeting and give us a report?
Well, let's set a limit right now. Because she contacted me last night, because I was maybe designated labor attorney or whatever. And yes, we didn't vote on it, but we all came to a consensus that
Right.
it was going to be me.
Right.
And she asked how long, and I said, I'm sure some are going to be really quick, and some will probably, if we decide to cap it, we can, but I said, I'm sure some would probably maybe go 2 hours long.
Did she give you an idea of what a normal assessment would
No,
cost?
she says they're always different.
They're always different?
They're,
Okay.
well, then we can do that.
Yeah, I'm comfortable with that.
Okay.
10 hours to interview and put together that much data? I question that. That's not going to, and she's right, but it needs to be a reasonable number.
Well, maybe, Jackson, you should talk to her and say, we'd like to set a cap of so many hours. Is that doable?
After
Per
10 hours,
person?
we need an explanation
Yeah.
or something.
Yeah.
Well, I think we should do it per person, so nobody's put out by, amount of time with each person, instead of just a blanket 10 hours.
No, but like you said, some people won't require
Right,
that much time.
right, correct. But you get what I'm getting at?
But I think what they're also talking about, what Mike is also talking about is respectful workplace.
Correct.
You frame that question and say that's what you're going to look into and audit.
Correct.
And then from that point, you tell her, no allowing to digress. We have green dogs and we want brown ones.
No fishing stories.
Right,
Correct,
right.
okay? So no meandering on us. Stay the topic and work through it.
I mean, I think one thing you should identify is what's your goal or your stated intent. Again, what are you trying to solve? You kind of say it, but you really don't. I mean, if you back into the $155 an hour, I mean, you could just kind of back up and say, okay, I'm going to spend 15 hours talking to people. If I were doing it, I'd say, well, I'm going to probably spend about 15 hours talking to people because I'm not going to just talk to somebody and then get the next person. I'm going to take a break and I'm going to collect my thoughts. And then I might have some follow-up questions. So you're going to have
Right.
somewhere between 1 to 2 hours per person. So call it 15 hours, 20 hours, whatever. You're going to have some, well, now I'm going back to report to my employer to say, or my client to say, well, here's what I think. What's your perception of my perception? And then you have that dialogue. That's where the communication takes place. And so put some parameters around it so you accomplish what you're trying to do and you get the most value for your money.
And I asked her the duration or how long it would take for this to get done, and she said probably a few months. It's not a month or a few week thing. It's going to be a few months.
Now, has anybody contacted the League of Minnesota Cities?
No.
You can probably get somebody out of the League of Minnesota Cities for,
Source.
I don't want to say half the price, but 2/3 of the price. And that's all they do. They're not attorneys. It's all they do is investigations.
Well, that's all she does.
Huh?
That's all she does, is these. That's all she
I
does.
read her bio, and she does a lot more than just that. She is a labor attorney also.
I think Susan told us that.
She specialized, this is her specialty.
Yes.
She lists a ton of stuff. So up to you. If you want to move forward with it, that's fine with me.
Well, no, I
But
think it's a
don't-
good
don't-
idea to
don't
get some, I think it's a
handy-
good idea to get some clarification
Yeah,
on,
yeah.
you know, or set a cap of.
On what she's talking to people about, one. Two, on the number of hours. Why don't you get back with her, Jackson, and then
Yep.
report back to,
And we can table it till the next meeting.
report to Shar in a written document, and then Shar can forward it to council.
Okay, so let's just be clear. Number of hours, what would you like that?
Estimated number of hours.
Even if you had a
more
range
specific-
would be helpful.
And maybe a more specific desired outcome or, you know.
Well, that's up to us.
Not outcome, but what she's,
Goal.
yeah.
That's up to us.
An objective or desired
Well,
outcomes.
same thing, goal, objective, same thing. Or different, but same. Okay. You got it, Jackson?
I do.
Okay, so I'm going to table this
Communication.
I know.
until Jackson gets more information?
Before you do that, the only thing I was thinking of is adding Brad to the list, just to get his perspective.
Adding who?
Brad Person to the list.
Brad.
Oh, I don't care.
Do we need, I was looking through that list.
Brad
and
looks very
she-
excited about that prospect.
I
It's
was,
just a phone call.
Well, and then you could take him off because he'll be gone by then.
what? Okay. So then we can get rid of, or we can, I don't want to say it that way. I don't want to say it that way.
Whatever.
I don't want to say it that way. We can respectfully scratch out retired Chief Lee. And then I was thinking, she was asking, Jane, do we need Jane on there? I mean,
It
she's,
depends what the purpose is.
right.
Leave her on there, I'm sure it'll be pretty short.
She has several people working under her. A lot of them are part-timers, but I think it probably wouldn't hurt her.
Okay.
And volunteers.
Would be a
Okay.
good educational thing for her as well, training.
Okay.
Okay, so we're gonna table that. Jackson, you're gonna come, you're gonna get
So
to.
we
I
have
will.
a motion on the floor.
Let
So
it die.
do you want
All
to
in
vote on
favor,
that
let it
and
die.
let it?
Just let it die.
Yep.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Oh, maybe it didn't die.
Know what the motion is for?
That wasn't the right motion.
You're not supposed to vote, Jack.
Read the motion.
And then
No,
to approve
well,
the
I have-
resolution regarding the workplace
Yeah,
audit.
That's a formality you have to do, but if you don't vote, it dies.
Okay.
No.
I get what you're
So
saying.
you vote to not in favor of it.
Yeah.
Right.
Once it's seconded.
Okay, all who's not in favor?
Aye.
Thank
Aye.
All right. Motion dies. Now we got a motion to table it until Jackson gets it back.
Okay.
There we go.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, what's next?
City administrator, Magic Mike.
Wow.
Mike, your next interview list for audit, and those are minutes?
How about the resolution supporting state funding for the National Loon Center?
Well, let's talk about the budget process first. Okay, just to reset, we're on City Administrator's Report, item number 1, 2024 budget process. So, if everyone's paying attention, Jackson.
Yes.
Thank you. Last year, we had 7 workshops. And that included the truth and taxation. The way most of them went is I asked for information, and I'd get some things, but mostly the council was mum on a lot of things. I hope that this process can change a little bit, so I get your input before the last meeting on it. So I'm asking early again, like I do every month. Tell me what you want to see. What are your concerns? What would you like to see in the budget? What I can guarantee you right now is based on, I looked at some preliminary market values. We'll have a low tax rate, but that's, the low tax rate is not the issue. The issue is the high value that properties are worth, but they're taxed at a lower rate. So what we saw last year was a shift from, commercial properties or properties in we saw some properties go up in market value and their taxes went down. And then we saw some pretty significant adjustments on others. And then if you looked at some preliminary numbers that you got when you saw your tax statement, you saw some other numbers and you saw some significant increases again. So the challenge will be to figure out where everybody fits in there and what makes sense. So I want to know what you want to see. I mean, I ask the same questions of staff, and I get a lot of good input. I get their wish list. It's mostly capital items, whether it's a skid steer or a side-by-side or a fire truck or new police car or whatever. I need to know those things so we can build them in and maybe what you're looking at for the next couple of years. Now, we've had a lot of talk about road plans. I know Phil is working on a proposal, some guidance on what we should do for our roads. So a lot of the items I'm asking for in the capital are big dollar items. I've got some proposed changes to how we allocate payroll that I think Marcia and I will agree on, but we'll talk about that during budget and when we meet with Shar on how to do that.
Shar and I will have that taken care of before then. Right?
Sure.
Yep.
But at any rate, I'd like to have those, I do this every meeting. I say, hey, if you've got questions, come in and talk to me. You know where I sit. I've got email, I've got a phone. I'm more than happy to sit down with any of you and say, here's what this means. Because a lot of times, what you think the numbers mean might not be what you think. There's a reason they look the way they are. We just went through an audit presentation and with positive results, and I expect that to continue. But I need to know what you want to see.
I would like to make sure that the department heads have a justification for any capital equipment or expenditures that they want.
And then that's all part of the process. Now, tonight we approved, coming back with some cost estimate of this study we're going to do. That's not a budgeted item. I need to know those things so we can plan accordingly and understand where we're going. So realistically, I'll come back with a schedule with you. I know what everyone's at the councils, their vacation schedules are, or their time off schedules are. So realistically, we'll have probably our first meeting would be towards the end of July, first part of August. So plan for that. I don't want to have 7 meetings. I'd prefer something less than that, and I think all of you would too. But to do that, I need to know what you think. We've got a budget. I need your input early, okay? So that's my request.
One question I'm going to have, Mike, is when do you find out how much the properties have increased in town? So
I already know that.
You do know that this coming year, what it's going to
I
be?
know in total. I don't know yours specifically unless I go look.
Is it 7.5?
Is it what?
7.5%?
I said I don't know. I know that we went from 2.1 billion in market value, about 2.2 billion, 76 million to 2.4 billion. So however that gets split up is however it gets split up. I don't look at individual personal or business properties. I look at the whole pie.
No, but what I would like to know, if we hold the levy flat, what it was last year, how much more money are we going to have to deal with?
If we hold the levy flat, we get the same amount of money.
Well, we've got more property to, what do you mean? We got more value.
If you hold the percentage,
okay, well,
the same as
percentage.
last year, the difference will be based on the increase in market value.
Yeah,
And
so-
I provide that to you every year, or my best guess of what it could be.
I would just like to know that sooner than later, just to give some kind of, I'd just like to know.
Yeah, I'll have an estimate. I won't have the number until the end of March 2024. But I'll have a pretty good idea, okay?
Okay.
So that's what I want to know, is what are your thoughts? Spend some time with me. I don't bite, most people. But there's a lot of good information that gets exchanged, so staff, get me your wish list. Next item, there's a resolution supporting state funding for the National Loon Center. Now, this is one we got, what time, Char, about 3:20, something like that, and I know John is here to talk about that, so I'm going to turn it over to John. He can talk about the resolution.
Thank you, John Mobeck, Cross Lake and National Loon Center. I just wanted to follow up. As you may know, hopefully you know, we did receive $2.5 million in our latest bonding bill request. The reason we're coming back to you so soon, which incidentally we're very grateful to the City Council for its support of the National Loon Center, including allowing us or enabling us to receive those funds from the state in the latest bonding bill. We're back in front of you again to suggest or request essentially the gap between what we had requested, which was $8.65 million, and the $2.5 million that we did receive. It has been suggested that we go back again next year and try to get in front of the Minnesota Management and Budget Office prior to June 16th in order to have a potential of getting on the governor's list of potential projects for next year. So our hope is that, and since it's been communicated to us that we would stand a good chance to get those funds next year, we may or may not need them when that time comes. But what we're asking tonight of the City Council is to support us filing with the State Management and Budget Office in order to get in the pipeline, since many projects were cleared out of the pipeline over the last 2 years with this latest bonding bill that was just released. Next year, we're now at the front of the pipeline, having built a lot of great relationships, and we're asking for your support. Same resolution as before, only a change in the amount for the 2024 session. And the reason it was quickly, I didn't know that we had this opportunity to get in before June 16th with the State Management and Budget Office, so I apologize that it's short notice, but it isn't anything different than last year's request.
No obligation to pay, no obligations of any kind, just support from the city.
Exactly the same. You're correct.
Do you have any update for us on the Loon Center or anything? What the plan is or anything like that? I mean, I know you're still after more money, but do you have any update? What's going on?
Yep, so we still have a $2 million request that our two state Senators, Klobuchar and Senator Smith, have advanced and forwarded to the USDA Agricultural Committee, chaired by Tammy Baldwin in Wisconsin. We're hopeful that we can get those $2 million added to the LCCMR funding for the 2.5 we just received. If we are successful in receiving that too, we are looking at about a $6.5 million gap, which is why we've made that request next year for 2024 to try to receive that money. I can assure you, my primary job is to try to raise those funds from other sources prior to that. And we have private individual and foundation sources that I'm aggressively trying to secure in order to make it irrelevant whether or not we would need next year's bonding bill money. However, if we have that out there as a last-ditch sort of, this is our best effort to get us to the finish line, we have reasonable assurance that we would then reach the finish line by next year. Our goal then is to begin construction immediately thereafter and hopefully open as soon as fall of '24. But I would say more conservatively, we're looking at the spring of 2025.
So you wouldn't build until you had all your funding? Is that my understanding?
It's possible that we could have bridge loan funding if we knew there was a secure source of funding forthcoming. So we'll look at that as over the next several months because, again, we're near the time when we want to be starting construction, again, as soon as this fall, but probably more likely next spring in order to open in the spring of '25. But everything is accelerating. The interest, of course, has been accelerating for the Loon Center. I would say the exposure our programs and research have provided have definitely raised the profile of this nationally significant institution.
I move we support this and as a city and continue to work with you.
Yeah.
So I move to support
I
that.
second.
Yeah.
Okay, any other discussion on it? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Thank you.
Motion carries, all in favor. Thanks, John. Okay, Shar, you're next.
Thank you. As a quick recap, on April 6th, 3 of the council members attended an open meeting law training at the fire hall. Pam Whitmore was the presenter. She was from Kennedy and Graven. The 2 newly elected members of our council had the option to attend some training through the League of Minnesota Cities when they were elected. On May 24th, you held a workshop here, and you were to give me specific items to be on that notice, to be talked about. They were parking, future land purchases, ethics issues, the side-by-side, fire chief salary, and the Bowler property. You added topics including the city sign, affordable housing, police scheduling, short-term rentals in regards to the police department, the status of short-term rental ordinance, the Loon Center, the roundabout, and making motions versus tabling issues. That's a violation of the open meeting law. Those items were not listed on the notice. On June 7th, last week, you held a closed meeting with the Bureau of Mediation. In between sessions, you spoke amongst yourselves about the holiday Juneteenth, hiring another police officer, and conducting a workplace audit. That, again, is a violation of the open meeting law. These are serious. Fines for this can be up to $300 per person, and you can forfeit your seat on the council. I, as city clerk, unfortunately, have to monitor this. I wasn't at the workshop. I would have stopped you. I didn't know this was going on during the closed meeting, or I would have stopped you. I'm really saddened that our new labor attorney was present and didn't stop you from these conversations on Thursday. But I just wanted to remind you that these are serious issues, and they can't continue. And if you have any questions, just come to me and talk to me about the open meeting law.
I appreciate the reminder. I wasn't aware of the conversation about Juneteenth, but maybe because we were coming and going to the bathroom. We had long waits, and while they were caucusing and whatnot. So
Isn't that when the resolution you guys came up with came out of that meeting?
I wasn't part of that conversation.
Oh, no, the labor.
I was not part of that conversation either.
Yeah, she absolutely did.
She did the workplace organizational thing, she did the Juneteenth, and then I think we discussed, I don't know, what was the other one, police officer?
That was information received.
I don't know.
So it's either,
I wasn't in the room,
Then
so
what?
I wasn't aware of that.
if you receive information as a quorum, discuss information as a quorum, or make motions as a quorum, all of those are violations of the open meeting law. Receive information, discuss it, or make motions.
Understood. I guess I just assumed that was all part of that day with our labor attorney, which she is hired
Exactly.
for. So,
Yep.
sorry for that, but I
That's
guess
okay.
that's her responsibility. I didn't know. I thought that was all part of labor as we were
Right.
talking that day. So I'm sorry.
Careful with the open meeting.
Yeah.
Well, unintended.
How does the workshop work? I mean, you don't have to cite everything you
Yes, you
talk
do.
about in a workshop.
Yes, you do.
You do?
A workshop is a special meeting. It's just another name for a special meeting.
Then what's the point of having a workshop?
I don't know.
Well, I would like to know the difference between a workshop and
There
a
isn't
special
one.
meeting. I know
Work
a
sessions-
workshop is
I'll
considered
read
a
you what the
special
league
meeting.
has. The league says work sessions, also sometimes called workshops, are special meetings of the council and must follow the requirements for special meetings, including posting notice and taking minutes. And that is why I told you I would put the bowler information on the notice, which I did, and that you could take action.
But we didn't take action
I know.
because it was a workshop.
I know, and I wasn't there to tell you that you could, but I did tell Dave that he could take action at it.
So what is the difference between a workshop and a special meeting, Brad?
I think Shar said it correctly. It's a special meeting.
Then what's the point
It's a special
of-
meeting. Special meetings, unlike an annual, or not in your case, monthly, regularly scheduled meeting, there you can bring up new topics because it's posted and it's meant to be an open meeting for your calendared meetings. Special meeting, you're supposed to, as best you can, state what you're there for.
Okay, well, it's no.
Sir, I apologize for myself that we put you in that position to have to scold us and educate us again. Apologize.
Thank you.
Yeah, I too, I don't think it was intended, but we did it. Okay,
And Peter gets to follow that.
Yeah.
You have to hit a button.
Oh, I probably did. Anyway, this item's in the packet as well, too. So if you want to turn to item G1A, please. And this is a non-action item here. What's before you? Will that pick that up, you think, or? There we go. Okay. Just a quick note on this one. I know I don't get to give a lot of reviews on this stuff, so on the P&Z side of things, on new construction, we're seeing almost double the amount of brand-new houses in Cross Lake, which is a fairly big deal, and especially for halfway through the construction season. So a couple things on that is ratio-wise per population, that's a pretty big deal. I mean, if any other city, say City of Baxter just doubled their residence permit numbers, especially compared to a year like 2022, that's definitely worth noting. So where that goes, we'll continue to see. And also that number is comparatively exceptionally large to the building booms we saw that have been exceeding since like 2014. We're at about a 45% increase on overall permit volume, which is also significant as well. So at our office too, we have double the DRT meetings, which is a service request to residents requiring more complex permit processes. And that also is requiring more time of Cheryl and I's, and is decreasing the amount of time that say we're available at the counter to help people. The point is here, I just want to point this form out because it's in the packet on the consent agenda items a lot. So if the new council members, just so you can recognize it and see that it's there and see, just what is this thing. If you have any questions on it, certainly do please ask me. And the other thing I'd like to do is offer an extension to the new council members. I'd like to invite you to set up a time to meet with myself or Cheryl and to go over a summary of zoning functions and how these processes work in tandem with the state statutes. And then also would extend an invitation to possibly attend a Board of Adjustment Planning Commission meeting. Councilmember Aaron is the liaison for the Planning Commission member, or the Planning Commission. But I think it'd be really good now. I know you guys were new in the positions. It might be perhaps now the time to just come check it out just to see what the process is and stuff like that. And I'd like to have you meet with some of the Planning Commission members. So I'll be reaching out to you guys on that here in the next week or so. And then that's about all of the information I have on that. So, but the permitting stuff is, we have been seeing substantial numbers. This sheet has been done for at least a decade, if not even longer. So the data is pretty good. And it's interesting to see. I don't know what type of economical environment Cross Lake is in, to see such significant numbers. I've talked to a lot of people that have dropped out of projects because of project cost. And then other people, it's very interesting. So, and the size of the projects too that we're seeing too are not small, which we're aware of what's out there in the Lakeshore District and stuff like that. And then also another thing of significance on the permit numbers is ordinance was changed a number of years ago to eliminate permits for structures that are 160 square feet or less per property. So that would also actually, one would think, would reduce the amount of numbers, which it certainly isn't. So, but that concludes a general report there, and an update on kind of where we are with the building process and season and what we're seeing on there. I've worked for a number of years in zoning, and I've never seen a double increase in houses in reference to even just like a large number of what we've been seeing in 2019 and 2022. So if you guys have any questions, my office is always open. Certainly feel free to give me a call. And if you got any questions on this, let me know.
Thanks, Peter.
Thank you, Peter.
Thank you.
That was good. Okay, public safety.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm Jory Danielson, 12518 County Road 103. Apologize to Shari, I didn't give you clear direction on why I was here tonight. I am under the public safety, but I am a registered voter, property owner, and taxpayer in the city of Cross Lake. I do not receive many services such as water, city sewer access, nor do I receive city snow plowing since I don't live on a city road. What I do receive is outstanding police service, excellent fire and EMS service, and then representation by this council. I'm here to respectfully convey my displeasure with the special meeting workshop that took place on May 24th. The entire meeting was unproductive, accomplished nothing, and was outright disrespectful. especially comments directed toward the fire department members attending the funeral of former Cross Lake Fire Chief Dave Schlick. Comments during the meeting that were disrespectful to the former Chief Schlick, the Schlick family, and the entire Cross Lake Fire Department. It is customary practice, tradition, and follows department policies to honor the former or a former fire chief and public servant who selfishly served the community of Cross Lake for many years. The comments and tone from the council and the mayor about the firefighters representing the city of Cross Lake at Chief Schlick's funeral was unwarranted. Because no one could speak, we were not able to publicly defend the comments made by attendants, by department members, and people representing the city. Not only was it disrespectful to former Chief Dave Schlick, the Schlick family, the Cross Lake Fire Department, it was also disrespectful for the entire fire service. Firefighters have a 60% greater risk of developing cancer in their lifetime as compared to the general public. Chief Schlick's passion was the fire service, and that all started here in Cross Lake. He taught thousands and certified thousands of firefighters across Minnesota, and the whole time he claimed Cross Lake as his home. He was very proud of his roots in Cross Lake and being a former chief for the community. Chief Schlick continued this passion until he could no longer. To be questioned publicly about our attendance without an opportunity to respond when there is a policy in place wasn't right. I wasn't able to determine if the council's disdain or outrage for attending the funeral is because the city is having financial problems or it's just vitriol towards the department and the members. Mr. Mayor and Council, I understand, or at least from my perception, the city is having financial trouble. So I am willing to donate back the 5 firefighters and the chief's wages back to the city for the time spent planning, attending, and representing the city at the former Cross Lake Fire Chief Dave Schlick's funeral. With this money is the mourning band I wore representing the city and our appreciation for Chief Schlick and his years of service to the community and to the family who supported him as he supported the community. I would like you to accept this in memory of former Dave Schlick so that the city can operate without being worried about running short on funds to honor a former volunteer firefighter and former chief. As for other comments made, many of which bordered on defamation directed at Chief Lohmiller, who does not need me to defend him, but I want to state for the record that there are not unauthorized trainings taking place at the Cross Lake Fire Department. The chief has not inappropriately used a fire hall, nor is there a conflict of interest with the training his company provides. Over the last 2 years, 4 Cross Lake firefighters have attended required introductory fire training to become firefighters for the city of Cross Lake. This was done in conjunction with fire department members from the Pine River, Ideal, Cuyuna, Crosby, Ironton, Deerwood, Brainerd, and Garrison fire departments. Being able to utilize our facility helps our members better understand our equipment and prepares them more effectively for fires and response within our community. Part of these introductory trainings also took place in Brainerd. On the night that new Cross Lake firefighters attended class in Brainerd and not in Cross Lake, the city paid mileage and the drive time to travel to Brainerd to attend those trainings. On holding trainings in Cross Lake, the fire department membership is also encouraged to attend and participate to refresh skills, convey knowledge, and even obtain new or extra knowledge. This introductory academy, along with other trainings, are all eligible for 100% reimbursement from the Minnesota Board of Fire Training and Education, costing the city nothing. Having a fire department and fire instruction and rescue education right here in our community makes our department better and our community safer. To call out and wrongfully accuse Chief Lohmiller of conflict of interest was completely ridiculous. You all have been informed of our 2 monthly training nights, which, as a reminder, are the 2nd and 4th Wednesday of each month. You have all been invited to attend trainings or call any firefighter at any time. If you have any questions, and to my knowledge, no one has attended anything other than an open house or our annual pig roast fundraiser. So in closing, before calling any more special meetings where department heads or the the public are not able to speak or defend themselves against blatant accusations and false information, please refrain. So far in 2023, there have been 13 special meetings or workshops, 13, where you have received stipends. The cost to city taxpayers has totaled over $1,620 so far, $1,620 in special meetings and workshops. That doesn't include other costs, which drive those costs up considerably. The current rate, our taxpayer dollars will pay over $3,000 of nonsense meetings that don't have clear direction, accomplish goals, and do not add productive value to the citizens of Cross Lake. By the way, that figure is nearly 4.5 times what the cost to honor former Chief Slick was. At a workshop to discuss the fire department last spring, Ms. Volz, you said recruitment and retention are your highest priorities for the department. How do you think the meeting on May 24th helped the city with that?
Jory, I would like to address something on the paid going to a funeral. That just blew me away. I always thought that it was the brotherhood. I always thought you did that out of respect. So to hear that they got paid just blew me away. I still don't understand it. I don't get it. If somebody dies, I go to their funeral out of respect. And if that's the way it is, that's the first I heard of it. You know, I didn't know that we got paid to go to funerals. Now I do. So that's where that question, that comment came from. I still probably don't agree with it. I think you should go to a funeral to honor that person that you're out of respect. Something seems funny to me about that. But if that's the way it is, I'll accept it. I'll never challenge it again. But that's where I came from.
You also have to plan for the funeral. And Jory can explain that, but there's planning. That takes a lot of time.
I'm not involved in it. I don't know what goes on.
The ladder truck needed to get just up and the flag displayed before the family arrived. So there's a lot more that you don't understand.
And I'm glad it was. I didn't know that it was a paid deal, that's all.
One of the things you have to understand too is when you're using city equipment on a paid on-call fire department, you have to pay them while they're using the equipment. Otherwise, you run into other problems should there be an accident or something go wrong or whatever. I will state, I did offer to clarify that at that meeting, and I was asked to be quiet by you.
Well,
the other thing that was shared with a council member was what are the standard operating procedures when a deceased member of the department requests that, which they did, and that was provided, but it was ignored. So I did offer to clarify that at that meeting, and I was not allowed to do so.
There was a lot of people in that meeting, and we were trying to just keep it to the table. There was a reason for that. We probably will never have another one like that.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, but I mean, there was no disrespect intended. It was confusion. It was just, I look at one of the cops die in Chicago, and the freeways for miles are 6 wide, and I guess they're all getting paid. It's news to me.
Well, I personally feel terrible if you felt disrespected in any way, and I don't know what I might have said. If I contributed any comments, I apologize.
Thank you.
Yeah, no,
I as well, Jory.
I appreciate it.
And not just to you, but to the chief and the rest of the firefighters.
I talked to you yesterday. You and I talked, and I agreed to what Aaron and Sandy said as well on behalf of all the firefighters.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Jory.
I don't think it's about the money.
You know what?
I don't think it's about the money.
Oh, no, not at all. Well, absolutely. But I don't know.
Keep the money. I think it was just a question between two of the council members, and now it's clarified. I don't think it's about that anymore. I think it was just spur of the moment.
I don't think anybody was trying to be disrespectful of anyone. It was just a discussion.
We just got an education. I certainly did. I had no clue.
I would like to see you keep the money because you earned it for that reason. Okay?
So,
Well, get it back to them somehow.
yeah. Okay, so should we move ahead?
Yep. Public safety minutes. Aaron, you want to take, who's that?
I will do
Is
that.
you?
Okay. We had a pretty good meeting. We went through pedestrian safety on Bonnie Lakes Road. Pat is going to talk more about it here in a little bit. But we're going to, looking at what we can legally clear to allow for pedestrian safety. People can see them. Talked about signs. I think you said the sign was ordered, a sign or something.
Yes, we ordered a bunch of signs today and some of it's for out there.
Okay. And went through that. Bonnie Lakes Road is a narrow, and unfortunately it goes in and out of the city. It's a difficult issue. We got on to the fire chief thing, and I believe we'll deal with that on July 6th. Or 5th, what was it?
6th.
6th. And so I think that part of it is covered. Police administrative assistant, I think Eric is going to talk about that in a little bit. And the side-by-side was tabled last month. So I don't know if you want to bring that up again, Eric, or that's your call, not mine. No, we can discuss it. And status on curb painting at Moonlight Bay, signs at County Road 3 Event Center, Town Square. I don't know, does anybody?
Well, the curbs at Moonlight Bay have been painted.
They have been. Oh.
Yeah. And Jake and Eric, something I noticed this weekend is they were painted for the weekend. And you
Yep.
couldn't tell because the cars were parked.
Cars were all
so-
parked there. They had a big event there, and I noticed that when I went by, and at that point in time, I think we have to look at signage too with the county. I don't know if, Jory, is that something that we can do up there? I'm not even sure. But we'll have to take a look at that. The other thing that I noticed is down at the event center,
Gathering?
cars were parked.
The gathering?
The gathering, yeah, on 3. They were parked along the east side of County Road 3 when I came through. And we haven't had the no parking signs put up there yet. And
You have not, I'm sorry, you have not.
They are not up yet, no. Jory and I will discuss that later on this week. So we'll try to get that figured out. At least they weren't parked on the west side of the road, though.
Yeah.
So,
Well, my comment to that is though, we got that striped at Moonlight. I mean, you guys are gonna have to give some tickets out so that they respect it, or they're not gonna.
yep, I know. I know. And being that it was the big event and I didn't call it in my guys that
Big
day,
event
but
or
we
a
will.
small event, the purpose
I
of
get
those
it, Mayor.
signs is to
I
keep
understand.
kids from running up between the cars and getting hit.
Mayor, I understand. I understand completely.
Okay, the next item on here is the council discussion on Marcia and I voting at the commission meetings. Dave and I always voted. There were times that when I knew I was going to be voting here
I
on
don't,
it,
I gotta correct.
what I did is I just would abstain at the safety commission.
I believe I always abstain.
Well, I didn't.
At a
if it's-
public safety meeting?
No,
During the public safety meeting, I vote?
yeah, yeah.
Well, mine, huh?
You didn't abstain.
But the thing of it is, all I do is if it's something I know I'm going to vote on here, all I do at that meeting is I abstain and I reserve my vote for here.
Then the liaisons should be ex officio and just be done with it. There's no point in abstaining.
That's the discussion that
Well,
you wanted.
then I think that's what we should do, is that's what we should make the liaisons ex officio. They're members, but they're not voting. Just put it in the job description. I'll make a motion that we make them ex officio on all the commissions.
And that means that we don't vote.
Right,
Okay, Shar, does that
exactly.
mean we need to do a ordinance amendment again?
It's a job description, isn't it?
It's not a job description, it's a commission.
I
Is
know.
it just for this
Just for the safety committee.
just for the safety.
Well, I think
All of them.
Public Works or Park
All
and
of them.
Rec.
Well, nobody votes at those.
I know.
I don't vote for Park and
I thought I made a habit out of not voting at them.
I think we need to make all the commissions ex officio for the city council.
And-
They're
and I don't
members, but
care.
they're
The
not
only
voters.
board that does have a vote, and that is by ordinance, is the EDA. Those two members vote. They are voting members of the EDA. That's it.
That
No
sit
one
on
else
the
should be voting.
Council, yeah.
Okay, there you go.
Okay, then we've been doing it the wrong way. Okay.
So can you just put that in the, isn't there a,
I don't think it says that they should vote.
but I mean, is there a job
I'll look
description?
at, no. There's language in the ordinance regarding liaisons. I'll look at what it says.
The ordinance talks about it. My memory is ex officio, but it's definitely in the ordinance.
Yeah.
You just got to look at it.
Okay, the last two items on here, they'll be covered by Chief Lohmiller, because it deals with radios and stuff, and that's his thing, and I think Eric had some radios there too. That completes it. And Pat will have some more information when he comes up.
If the council's good, I'm going to let Sergeant Meyer take the
Sure, absolutely.
Okay.
first part.
Good evening. You guys got the letter from Chief Lee regarding Officer Martin. For the past 6 months, Officer Martin's been doing an extraordinary job working with us. We're very proud of him, and we're happy to be working with him. So we are requesting that we remove him from probationary status to full-time status, effective retro back to June 4th. And we also are requesting
From step one to step three.
yeah, and then the other thing we're requesting is that we do the same thing we did last year with the other officers and move them from step 1 up to step 3 of the Teamsters contract, just to kind of keep them in line with.
Retroactive or from today on? What's the date of
From
that?
June 4th, I think, is that the wrong date?
Yep, June 4th.
June 4th. That's the end of his probation.
Okay.
I
Today.
move we approve it.
Shar says from today, that was his probation.
I was thinking pay period, but it's June 12th, which would be today.
Okay.
So I'm requesting that we move him to full-time
Okay.
status and take him off probation.
And I move that we approve that request.
I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Thank you.
Motion carries, all in favor.
Yeah, just don't listen to me, that's
Worked
right.
once, not twice. Huh?
Good evening. So we're on to the administrative assistant, correct?
Yes.
All right. You received the job description, which was basically plagiarized from Breezy and Pequot. To be honest, but it really sums up two positions that have been around for a while that do what needs to be done within the police department. So you've got that. Salary has to be discussed. We discussed that a little bit at the Public Safety Committee meeting. And again, size-wise of the department, size-wise of the city, if I were to bring in Brainerd's or counties or Baxter's, your wages are gonna go way up, so I kept it within Breezy and Pequot, being that they're closest to us. So for Pequot, the salary range, according to their, if they are part of a union, I'm not sure. They're 2064 and 10-year steps to 2683. So that's their wage, salary wage, or
2064.
2064 to 2683 after 10 years. That,
So is that
to me-
$42,000 a year?
it's got to be right around there, yeah. Yeah, starting would be about 42, correct. Breezy's starts 2258 and their high is $29.46. So they're $2 to $3 higher than Pequot's. So
2946, Eric, how many years is that?
well, they go through A through H, so 8 steps. I'm not sure how, if they are
15 years or something, or?
you know, I'm not sure how they work that, Mike, if it's a performance review based or if it's, I know that Karen told me that she is about at top step and she's been there for quite a long time, so.
And she is 2984?
She's pretty close to that. So, and that was my ballpark figuring was low to mid 20s starting, high 20s top pay was kind of ballpark I was in when I was thinking about this position, especially if we tack on other job duties such as short-term rentals or that type of thing. That's going to be another specialized field that they'll have to know. And this is a specialized position. I mean, they have a lot of training that they have to go through, and it's not just you answer phones and direct a police officer to
And
help
that's
out.
continuing education?
Continuing education, training.
That the city pays for along the road?
City pays for, yep.
So what are you asking us to do today?
Well, I'm asking, we put it off last month to get job description in. You've seen that now. I'm asking if the council sees that need. Do we want to wait till we get the organizational interviews done? Do you want to start that now? We're going to be down an officer for, I would sadly say, an extended period of time, probably. We haven't used part-time budget at all, so we have budget money in there if we want to start someone. This would be something that could help Jake be able to get out on the road more while we are down an officer. So we do have those funds that would be available. Part-time, I don't see us using much money of that at all. I mean, I've gotten no's every time I've asked. And it's not because they don't want to work here, it's because they're busy doing their other full-time job.
So if we were to go ahead and approve this, how easy is it to add descriptions to that job in the next 3 months, say?
Again, we're gonna have, the council's gonna have to take a look at that job with the help of Mike and with input from Jake on, you know, is that a union position? Is that an exempt position? Is it, they're not gonna be exempt as far as the state status, but from the union status. I mean, that's all groundwork that has to be done.
Why do you even say that? How could they be?
How could they?
If it's a full-time, be exempt? I mean, everybody else is.
I'm not gonna determine who's gonna be part of the union. I'm just putting that out to you.
Well, I can't imagine.
Yeah, either can I, but that's not my decision to make.
Well, I don't,
What would be the difference, Dave,
With what?
if they were a union or not?
Nothing, but I mean, I just assume they're gonna be. There wouldn't be a difference, it's just I'm assuming.
I would assume, and I would think that it would probably be, it wouldn't be with the Teamsters, I wouldn't think, because that's police officers union. They're clerical, city admin style, so it'd probably be, AFSCME would be the group that they would be involved with. They're not gonna be with MNP, that's department heads, so the wages and that would have to be negotiated, I would assume, with whichever.
How do we handle
organization.
a person that might apply for the job and they don't want to be on the union? Troy's back there. How do you handle that, Troy?
So nobody has to be.
Troy? Yeah, we're recording, I'm sorry.
So nobody has to be in the union. The issue is the position represented by the bargaining unit. So whether the person chooses to be in the union or not is an individual choice. The question is it's called the light community of interest, and I think I agree with the thoughts that community of interest would be more, not selfishly speaking, but I think it would be more in the bargaining unit have asked me than it would be with the Teamsters, with the police officers. So once you establish that's the light community of interest, the work is most like the work that the ASPE members do. That's the bargaining unit it gets assigned to, and then after that, it's basically a negotiation with you all about what does it look like. Once you guys define a job description, you may send it out to a consultant to have it graded to see what the appropriate rate of pay is by a consultant for that type of work in this region of the state. And that's kind of just the information that we all collectively use to say, yeah, that's appropriately placed and this looks like the reasonable amount of pay. And normally when you advertise a job, the officers they're going to want to know those things, right? What are the duties? What is the rate of pay? And just like I would tell you that I'm as biased as, I'm a union rep, so I'm biased towards the union. That's why we use a consultant typically, unless we can come to terms. We both look at it objectively and say, I think this is a fair number, and that's what it is. But so whether they join or not doesn't matter. It's more a question of where's the community of interest.
Now, Troy, I'm candid, you know me.
Yeah.
If I were looking at a job and it was a union job, I would keep looking.
Yep.
I have no interest in being in the union, especially at my age.
Yep.
So they could take the job and they could elect not to be on the union?
Yep.
And what does that involve? Just not paying their dues?
Yeah, they don't pay dues and they don't, so to speak, have a vote. Like when we put together our bargaining proposal or vote on a contract that the council may offer us, they don't participate in the meetings, they don't have a say.
Right. They're not on the union.
Yeah, they typically defer to the union members that are in the bargaining unit.
So they're just not represented?
Oh, there's a legal requirement that we represent them equally, even though they're not a dues-paying union member.
Okay.
It's called the duty of fair representation, and it's complicated, but that's how the law works.
So would they be under the employee handbook then, if they don't want to be in the union?
The actual question that you're asking would be determined by the recognition clause established by the Minnesota Bureau of Mediation Services at the time that these bargaining units were created. So that would answer the question. If there's disagreement between the parties about where the appropriate placement of that position is, we refer to the Bureau because they're the objective neutral party. I'm biased, the council could be biased, and the Bureau says this position should be placed here. That's how the unions were created in Cross Lake. They decided which positions were assigned where based by the community of interest. Once that's decided by the state, then we are just left with, dealing with their decisions.
Okay. My question is, they don't have to be.
No, they do not have to be.
Okay.
Does the AFSCME, in your case, would that negotiate still the wages for that position?
Yeah, my recommendation is you just have to think about, we don't look at individuals, we look at positions. So the position would be in our bargaining unit, that's what we'd be talking about. What are the duties? What's the appropriate rate of pay in conjunction with what the others are paid?
How do you get paid for representing that individual then?
Well, this is the unique thing about collective bargaining, Mr. Mayor. The law says that people have the right to choose. The United States Supreme Court reversed a decision that was 40 years old about 4 years ago, where it was called the Jantz decision, where they said that you can't force a public employee to support a union, which is a reversal of a prior decision by the U.S. Supreme Court. And so since then, membership is voluntary. And the question then becomes the strength of the union depends on its membership. And so if you have non-members, you consequently have a weakened bargaining position with an employer like yourselves. And so the question to the employees is where is their best interest served? Is it in supporting the organization that represents a position or not? And they make that decision individually.
Yeah, okay. I just, I don't know anything about it.
No.
Everyone crystal clear?
Crystal. My hesitation personally is the job description and the potential overflow to the fire department, to Chief Lohmiller, and a joined that could help each other out. I mean, that's, and I don't know where that is right now.
I won't be around for that part.
Yeah.
I just, right now, all I can do is look out for my department, so.
Yeah. So what do you guys, how do you feel about it?
Well, go ahead, Aaron.
Why don't you go and get the study done to find out where the pay should be at, so when we consider it, we know what we're talking about and dealing with.
Well, can we just set a range? I mean,
I'd second that, Aaron.
Well, I'm gonna go out on a limb here and probably look at Mike and say he's probably got a good idea with what he's done in the past and his looking at the wages for comparable positions in the area. I'm gonna guess he's probably got a good idea. We haven't talked about it, but.
Why don't you get the information put together then and bring it back so when we say yes or no,
At
we
my
know
last
what we're
meeting?
actually talking about, okay?
Okay.
I'll second that.
You could have Jake bring it back.
What's that?
You could have Jake bring it back at the last
Yeah,
meeting.
I know.
You're gonna be a little preoccupied with peeling chain links off or something.
No, there'll only be 3 on that meeting when that one's done. That'll just be a keychain at that point.
All right, we got a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion carries, all in favor.
All right, thank you, we'll get that done. Next is radios for squad cars. So the FBI requirements are changing for encryption for our armor system radios, which are 12 years old, Chip? 12 years old in our squad cars. We've already updated.
Mounted radios.
Yep, the ones in the squad. We've already updated the handheld portables, so they're good to go. I've ordered one last year for the new squad car, so that one's good. I've got one coming this year in the order, in the price for the squad car this year. That one's coming sometime. I ordered it back in February or January. It still isn't here. Neither is a car. So I guess it's not a big deal. So we have 4 left. We have money in the budget we've been putting aside. And for 4 additional radios, there's $6,000 some odd dollars a piece. We got $24,000. Order them up and just be done within 2 years. That'll be happening. Chief Lohmiller is going to be coming at you for the same thing for about 8 radios, I think. And in the next year or so, I think that'll be part of his budget coming up. So if we have it in there, I won't say what fund it is, Marcia. But
The balance was $180,000.
the Marcia Fund, I said it.
I don't know why
So-
you do that.
You know what I'm gonna say to that, is are the radios working today?
The radios are working today.
And are they working good? I mean, is there any issues with them?
We have no issues until they change
The FBI is not gonna mandate it for 2 years, right?
It's in the process. I mean, so right now we're at almost 7 months since I ordered them, and I'm not sure, according to John Bone, who left the sheriff's department, he said it would be within 2. Yeah. So, I'd like to be in front of the game here and not get behind. Yes, the radios work, but they will be months out
I
before
mean,
we
I
even
just
get
think,
them.
why wouldn't you get 2 more years out of what you got? But you're saying that you might not have delivery or whatever.
Right. I mean, everyone else is going to be ordering them at the same time. So when the FBI changes, if we take the mentality of wait till they say it's changed, and then we order, we're going to be a lot like other people or other agencies. So let's get in front of the game here. We've got the money in the budget.
well, I don't know. Go ahead. If we have the money in the budget and we need them ultimately, and as Chip said, the price will probably go up, and availability will probably go down, so I don't know, I'm inclined to just go ahead and approve it.
I'll second that.
Marcia, don't you have anything to say about that?
No, I don't. I already informed everyone there's 180,000 in that police assigned budget, so, and I don't know how many times I've been told that that's gonna go down to
I'm.
100,000. It never has.
No to spending money. I want to get it down there.
All right. Got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Thank you.
Motion carries. All in favor.
Made it through.
All right. Chief, what do you got?
Mr. Mayor, Council, I need